Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The End of the World. The Green Dragon Fruit at the Beginning. Chapter 31. After parting ways with Li Wei, Ao Xin continued driving eastward. There are indeed many benefits to forming an alliance with Li Wei. In the future, he will be very powerful. When the time comes, he will be able to use the privileges given by God to make deals with Li Hui's forces to earn points. After driving east for 3 days and finding no other devil fruit, Ao Xin decided to return. It has been 17 days since I left home this time, and the world has completely fallen into the apocalypse. Water and electricity were cut off everywhere, traffic was paralyzed, and everything that human civilization relied on was destroyed. The suppression by the military of various countries has instead catalyzed the evolution of zombies. The bald eagle and northern furry bear on the other side of the ocean have even used nuclear weapons to try to eliminate a wave of zombies. As a result, it directly catalyzes the creation of 3-star zombies that are stronger than zombies' hairy zombies. Nowadays, those places have become ghost lands, without a single living being, and they are a paradise for zombies. The collapse of the satellite system also made navigation invalid, but Ao Xin still relied on the experience of the previous life to control the direction and distance and return to home. On the way, Ao Chen suddenly shouted, "Brother! There is a treasure! There is a treasure! I sense the treasure again!" Ao Xin immediately followed her guidance and drove towards the place where the treasure appeared. This is an urban-rural fringe area, and there are relatively few zombies. On the way, he tested his idea, but the result was very bad. Ao Chen's level was too low. Although he was a phantom beast, he had no strength bonus. Even if he removed the zombie's limbs, it would take a long time for Ao Chen to decapitate a corpse. But the speed of earning points has still been greatly improved. He knew that soon, the points rules of the God-given space would change. At that time, the points needed to obtain points will no longer be based on killing zombies, but will be divided equally based on the damage caused to zombies. There are not many opportunities for this kind of wool harvesting. In his previous life, he had been struggling at the bottom of the apocalypse and had never enjoyed this kind of opportunity. In this life, although Ao Chen can be allowed to pluck wool, there are pros and cons. The disadvantage is that Ao Chen will have fewer opportunities to fight, and his strength improvement will be slower. You know, the practice of domineering is all about physical training and fighting. In the apocalypse, every step is slow and every step is slow. Those strong people are always fighting to keep their strength in the leading position. The car drove to a farm near a farmhouse, where there was an orchard. Presumably before the end of the world, business here was pretty good. But now, many fruit trees have been trampled by zombies. The two got out of the car and were about to walk into the orchard when they saw a man walking out of the orchard holding a hatchet tied to a wooden stick. This is a middle-aged man who looks to be in his 30s. His face is a bit weathered due to his years of planting trees and cooking at a farmhouse. However, when Ao Xin saw him, his expression changed. "It's him. Who are you?" the man shouted in a rough voice, raising the homemade weapon in his hand and pointing it at Ao Xin. "Us." Ao Chen was about to explain to him when he saw Ao Xin swung the steel whip in his hand and smashed the man's head into pieces. Elder brother. Ao Chen was a little confused. Although his brother had become very cold-blooded and cruel, he had never killed anyone without asking the reason. "This is one of my enemies from my previous life." Ao Xin explained lightly, then heard a sharp cry from behind, "Daong. Ah, I'm going to kill you." When he turned around, he saw a middle-aged woman rushing over like crazy with a kitchen knife. Hearing the woman scream, 2 more old people came out of the house. Their bodies looked very strong. One of them held a hoe in his hand, and the other held a shovel in his hand. After seeing the body of the man who fell to the ground, he suddenly felt a thunderbolt in the sky. "Xiaoyang." The old man trembled and saw the blood on Ao Xin's steel whip. He didn't know what happened. "Brother." Ao Chen felt wrong and didn't know what to do. But Ao Xin had already taken action, and 10 seconds later, 3 more bodies appeared on the ground again. He still didn't stop, kicked open the door and walked into the house. In the house, there was a little boy of 3 or 4 years old looking at him with a look of horror. Ao Chen chased after him from behind. He just heard his brother talk about his enemies in the previous life, and saw him killing everyone. However, No matter what kind of enemy he is, a 3 or 4-year-old child cannot threaten him. Looking back at Ao Chen, Ao Shin put down the steel whip in his hand and said, "Give me your knife." Ao Chen asked anxiously while taking the knife, "Do you want to kill this child too?" Ao Shin smiled and said, "Give him a chance." With that said, he exchanged for another piece of water and meat, and placed the meat and the knife in front of the boy. "Choose one. If you choose the right one, I won't kill you." The boy's trembling eyes glanced at the knife and meat, and finally focused on Ao Shin's face, as if he wanted to remember the appearance of the man in front of him. Boom! The steel whip hit the ground hard, and Ao Shin's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The boy was so frightened that he quickly grabbed the piece of meat and looked at Ao Shin with pleading eyes. Ao Chen said, "Brother, he chose meat, do you still want to kill him?" Ao Shin said coldly, "I killed his whole family, but he chose meat instead of a knife. This son cannot be kept in such a deep city." After that, in the boy's frightened eyes, he raised the steel whip and smashed the boy's head. Ao Chen, she didn't understand. What if he chooses a knife? Ao Shin said, "Choosing a knife means that he holds a grudge. If he wants to kill me, of course the person who wants to kill me must die." Ao Chen, what if he chooses both? Ao Shin, he's greedy. When he grows up, I'm afraid it's not enough to kill me. If he wants to kill our whole family, then we have to get rid of him. Ao Chen was shocked. What if he doesn't choose anything? Ao Shin walked to other rooms and replied, "You dare not give me face now, and you have to kill me in the future. Then you can't stay." Ao Chen, putting a hand on his forehead, "So you have to kill, right? Then why are you doing so much work? By the way, what grudge do you have against this family? Do you want to kill them?" Ao Shin carefully searched every room, including all corners, all cabinets, under the bed, etc. "What are you looking for? The devil fruit isn't here." Ao Shin continued to rummage through boxes and cabinets, and his voice came from the falling things, "Let's see if there are any fish that have slipped through the net." Ao Chen said in confusion, "You can't hide people in the dressing box, right? You even have to dig through plastic bags." Ao Shin said plausibly, "Does anyone know if anyone eats any weird devil fruit, such as it will become smaller, or it will turn into a plastic bag or something?" After looking through it carefully and confirming that there was nothing left, he took Ao Chen and left. Before leaving, he sprinkled all the oil and other flammable materials in the house on the ground, and sprayed out a breath of hot breath, setting the house on fire. Looking at the fire with satisfaction, he said to Ao Chen, "Go find the devil fruit. The fire will burn down the orchard soon." In the orchard, a kiwi tree is filled with dense fruits. Among these fruits, one is particularly long. Its color is deep green, with black fluff and curly lines on its surface. It's the devil fruit. This fruit was very well hidden among many fruits. If Ao Chen could not directly locate its location, even if he knew that there was a devil fruit in the orchard, it would not be easy to find it. This fruit may be the one that person ate in the previous life. That fruit is so powerful. Handing the fruit to Ao Chen put it into his treasure storage space, and the two returned to the car and drove towards Biancheng. On the way, Ao Shin just told about his past life karma with this family. "That man was once a member of my team, and I helped his family. Later, he betrayed me and joined a stronger person. There is nothing wrong with this. Changing families in troubled times is just a common occurrence. Whoever is strong will follow whoever is strong. This is the most basic truth. Of course, when I met him, he no longer lived here, but took his wife and children into the city. I have never heard of his parents. Maybe they died on the road. Later, he actually led his men to attack my base, which caused us heavy losses. We couldn't hold on any longer, so he led his men to join another strong man. One day, a fight broke out between us. The organization was wiped out, and I killed him and his wife. Someone who had been following me persuaded me to let his child go, and I finally agreed. But I didn't expect that just because I let that little brat go, he would seek revenge on me in the future, causing me to narrowly escape death several times. In the end, under the planning of a couple of bad men and women, I was killed by that little beast. When will the injustice be repaid? When one party dies, the injustice will be over." Ao Shin stepped on the accelerator fiercely. "Meow, there is also a couple of dog men and women, don't let me find them." Otherwise, I will destroy their whole family. Only then did Ao Chen understand what happened to his brother in his previous life, and why he rummaged through the boxes and set fire to the house. Brother, in this life, we have so many devil fruits, we won't be bullied anymore. Ao Chen comforted her brother softly. She could not imagine how difficult it would be for her brother in the previous life to live in the apocalypse without the power of prophet or devil fruit. 5 days later, they returned to Biancheng. At this time, high-level zombies appeared in major provincial cities due to military suppression, but small wireless cities like Biancheng were a blessing in disguise, with only 1-star fleshy corpses at best. When I got home, the car still had half a tank of gas. It would be inconvenient to go out later. Meng Kui did a good job. In front of the house, many fences and barbed wires were installed downstairs to surround the entrance of the building. Ordinary zombies could not enter, and it was also very difficult for flesh corpses to get in. Of course, if there are zombies, they can easily destroy these obstacles. Fortunately, there are no high-level zombies in Biancheng. In the middle of the obstacle were several thick layers of large iron doors. He didn't know where Meng Kui got these things. But when he saw a large truck next to him, he knew that Meng Kui should have found it too. He didn't have a key, so he couldn't easily destroy the barriers in front of his house. He said to Ao Chen, "Come here and I'll carry you." He turned into a green dragon and carried Ao Chen directly to his bedroom window. Opened the window and got in. As soon as I entered the house, I heard someone talking in the living room. It's my father and Meng Kui. The two opened the door and walked out. "Dad. Mom, we are back." The sudden appearance of the two people startled several people in the room. When he saw clearly that it was the two of them, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Why did you come out of the bedroom?" Ao Shin smiled and said, "I think the entrance to our corridor is blocked by an obstacle. It would be a pity if it was destroyed, and it would turn into a green dragon and fly up. I haven't seen my family for several days, but when I meet them now, I feel more cordial and at ease. The family is still fine." At this time, his father was bandaging Meng Kui's wound. Ao Shin was shocked. If he was injured in the apocalypse, he would most likely be injured by a zombie, which could transform into a zombie. What's wrong with Meng Kui? He is already prepared to kill Meng Kui. Once the corpse transforms, it is no joke. His father Ao Kong immediately understood his worries, waved his hand and said, "Meng Kui was bitten on the shoulder because he was trying to protect your mother from zombies, but I have used the power of the surgical fruit to take out the piece of flesh. It will not be infected." Ao Kong stood between Ao Shin and Meng Kui. The scene where Meng Kui sacrificed his life to help Zhang Hong fight off the zombies moved him so much that he even felt that he was a godson. Ao Shin is still not reassured. The zombie virus is extremely violent. Once infected, the corpse will transform quickly. Will it really be okay if just taking out a piece of flesh? But Meng Kui did help his family a lot, so he couldn't be too ruthless and decided to wait and see for a while. Meng Kui said, "Don't worry, boss. I live downstairs. Even if I get infected, I won't affect you." Downstairs. Ao Shin doesn't know about this yet. Zhang Hong explained. "After the Chen family died, Meng Kui went to get some building materials to block our building, and then he took the initiative to move to the first floor, saying he could help us find zombies as early as possible and resist them, so these days I have been living in the old Zhao family on the first floor." Ao Kong said, "I have studied zombie viruses, which can make blood black. When Meng Kui was bitten before, I used the power of the surgical fruit to cut off the bitten part of him. That part had just started to turn black, and other parts it's okay, it probably hasn't been spread yet." Ao Shin has been keeping a close eye on Meng Kui's body to prevent him from suddenly transforming into a dead body and hurting others. Seeing that Ao Shin was worried, Meng Kui took the initiative to go downstairs, and Ao Shin followed. "Your arm is injured now and your combat effectiveness is reduced. If the zombies come, it will be difficult for you to resist. I am here to ensure that you have no worries. Of course, if you transform into a corpse, I will kill you without hesitation." Ao Shin said bluntly that this is not the time to be tactful. Meng Kui smiled bitterly to express his understanding. "I understand, boss." The two came to the room on the first floor. Meng Kui sat on the sofa to rest, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Ao Shin entered the God-given space and exchanged it for a piece of Luffy's favorite big cock. This thing not only has a good recovery effect on physical strength, but can also heal trauma. The price is a full 100 points. It is a luxury that people in this period cannot afford. Eat this. It will help you heal your arm wounds quickly. He handed the big cock to Meng Kui. Although this thing could not resist the zombie virus, it had a good healing effect. Ao Shin stayed in Meng Kui's room for half a day, and confirmed that his body would not turn into a corpse, and then took him back upstairs. Boss, I won't go, I can rest downstairs. Ao Shin said. You did a good job, you deserve a reward. Hearing the word, reward, Meng Kui's eyes were hot. What did the boss do for so long? Didn't he go to find a devil fruit? Could he get a devil fruit himself? It seems that his efforts these days have not been in vain. Following Ao Shin upstairs, Ao Chen had changed his clothes and washed his body with clean water. Xiao Chen, take out the devil fruit, let's identify which one is more suitable. With Ao Shin's consent, Ao Chen immediately took out the devil fruit excitedly. In addition to the thunder fruit, there are a total of 4. One in the provincial capital factory, one in the mountains and forests, one given by Li Wei, and one in the last orchard. Xiao Xin, the identification fee is 1,000, 4 is 4,000, it's too expensive. Zhang Hong thinks it's unnecessary to spend money to identify the fruit. Who doesn't eat this thing? These days, the old couple has gradually become familiar with the life in the end times, and has a deep understanding of the devil fruit, domineering and other systems. With the points given by Ao Shin in advance, their physique is now very good. Although it has not reached the level of awakening domineering, the mental outlook is a little younger. Ao Shin doesn't think it's expensive. We have Xiao Chen, there must be more than so many devil fruits, of course we have to eat the best. Identification is still necessary. After identifying the 4 devil fruits one by one, he was surprised to find that these fruits were not bad. The so-called good means that there is not a single ordinary animal type. One of them is a superhuman type, and 3 are animal types. They are superhuman type seam fruit, animal type bull fruit phantom beast type hound form, animal type bird fruit phantom beast type Pleiades form, animal series Niu fruit ancient species plate-toothed rhinoceros form. There are actually 2 mythical beast species. Ao Shin is very suspicious that Duobaoshu has a hidden attribute of extra luck. The other animal series is also an ancient species, plate-toothed rhinoceros, which is an ancient giant rhinoceros with super thick fur and a huge sharp horn. It can be imagined that the plate-toothed rhinoceros form will provide huge strength and defense for the eater. The fierce beast is a legendary beast, which is shaped like a cow, has 4 horns and very long hair. It is said that it was born in the netherworld and likes to eat people the most. It is extremely vicious. As for the Pleiades, it is simply a god. The Pleiades star official in the 28 constellations is also absolutely extraordinary. The family members were also very surprised when they learned of this result. They thought that it was good to have a devil fruit, but who knew that they could get such a good fruit? Mom, you pick first. Except for the ancient animal type, the other 3 are all good. The superhuman type stitch fruit can sew everything together. Although it is not very lethal, its ability to trap the enemy is invincible. If it is well developed, it will surely not be weaker than the string fruit. Of course, I hope you choose these 2 mythical beasts. After all, in the end times, the body is the foundation, and the fruit is just the icing on the cake. Zhang Hong did not refuse this time. She now understands that in the end times, only if she becomes strong can she be the greatest help to her son, and saving is useless. I'll choose the sowing fruit. Zhang Hong picked up the seam fruit and said, I've read a lot of devil fruit introductions in the past few days, and this fruit has pretty good abilities. It just so happens that your mother makes clothes and likes this ability. Your father also wants to catch a zombie and study it. With this fruit, the zombie can be completely trapped, which will be of great help. I'll leave the phantom beast species to you young people. With that said, she ate the superhuman seam fruit. She had seen Ao Chen and Ao Kong eating the fruit. She knew that the fruit was unpalatable, but she still didn't expect it to be so unpalatable. But thinking that my son and daughter had gone through so much trouble to bring it back, I gritted my teeth and had to swallow it. As soon as the fruit entered her stomach, she felt it. She went to the drawer to get a steel needle, and a tiny thread immediately appeared in the eye of the needle. The thread looked short, but she knew the length of the thread depended on her strength. As long as her energy is not exhausted, the line is infinitely long. When I stabbed the needle on the table, there was no resistance at all and it went in easily. Then, the needle passed through the table, she squatted on the ground, and pierced the ground with the needle again, and it penetrated easily. The table and the ground are sewn together. No matter how Ao Shin makes the table, it cannot be separated from the ground. The toughness of this thread is beyond imagination. However, when Ao Shin transformed into a human animal form, he was still able to forcibly break the thread. However, before the thread broke, the table was broken first. Not bad, as long as my mother improves her speed, she can sew zombies on the ground and then slowly chop them down. Or as she said, for her father's research. In this way, both parents have become able-bodied, and their combat effectiveness has greatly increased. Only then did he look at Lu Xiao and Meng Kui. Please choose between these two fruits. You have done a great job these days, and this is the reward you deserve. Lu Xiao has always taken close care of her mother, protecting her during the battle, and after the battle, she lovingly squeezed her shoulders and beat her legs. When the Chen family father and son broke out that day, she was still on guard and killed them both. Although she said it was easy in the communication group of God's space, Ao Shin later learned that she was also injured when she killed these two people. This is not easy for a woman. As for Meng Kui, let alone that. In order to protect his mother, he was bitten by a zombie. If his father hadn't had the power of surgical fruits, he would have been infected by now. Although I know they must be doing this for a purpose in return. But that's normal. He is not a king with a domineering aura that can overwhelm everyone with his charm and make people bow to him. Rewarding people if they do well and punishing people if they do bad is the long-term solution. My bottom line is that I cannot betray. The two of them were pleasantly surprised. They didn't expect such a big reward so soon. It seemed that their choice was right. First, he was safely taken out of the zombie swarm and moved into a home with plenty of food and fresh water. He was also given a lot of points to purchase a series of materials such as domineering practice methods, knives, and food. This allows their strength to advance by leaps and bounds in the apocalypse. Otherwise, they would most likely have died on the highway by now. Even if he is not dead, he is just hiding somewhere and struggling to his death. Where can he have the good life now? The two looked at each other. The two phantom beasts were a reward billions of times more than their efforts. Lu Xiao and Meng Kui swallowed unconsciously. Phantom beast species isn't the reason why Ao Shin is so powerful precisely because of the phantom beast species. After getting this fruit, they can also become strong men in the end of the world. The two people's eyes were extremely fiery, and in the end Lu Xiao was the first to speak. Brother Meng is a powerful person, and that one sounds like a powerful beast, which is more suitable for Brother Meng. She smiled. The charm of a mature woman was completely different from that of a young girl like Ao Chen. The bird fruit should be able to fly. My physique is not as good as Brother Meng. If it can fly, it will be more helpful to me. What do you think, Master? Ao Shin said. You choose it yourself, this is a reward for you. Meng Kui also likes the ruthless fruit. What he pursues is extreme violence. The ruthlessness obviously suits him very well. I agree with Lu Mizi, if the boss has no objection, I will eat this ox niu fruit. Ao Shin had no objection, so he took it out and gave it to them. He is not afraid that these two people will become ambitious after eating the fruit. His advantage is not only the azure dragon fruit, but also the talent of a domineering genius, the title of God-given member, and the first step leads to the first step. Not to mention that these two people were not as strong as themselves after eating the fruit. Even if they betray secretly, I still have plenty of ways to punish them. Moreover, he knows very well that although power is important in the end of the world, the root of power is still the leader. He is the cornerstone. Eat, I respect your choice. Proper respect can also win the loyalty of his subordinates. Sure enough, after hearing this, they looked at him with more enthusiasm. Master, don't worry, Xiao will always be yours. Lu Xiao was the first to express her loyalty and even knelt down to express her surrender. She will not rebel just because she got the devil fruit, and she also understands that Ao Shin is irreplaceable. Meng Kui also quickly expressed his loyalty. He knelt down on one knee, imitating the plot in the movie, put one hand on his chest, and performed the etiquette of a Western knight. Boss, I, Meng Kui, will follow you to the death. He was willing to give the phantom beast devil fruit, because he believed that apart from Ao Shin, there would be no other person in the world. Well, let's eat. Ao Shin nodded lightly. He had heard too many words of loyalty. As for whether he was loyal or not, it still depends on how he acted. He won't trust others completely just because of a flattery. The two of them each picked up a devil fruit and put it into their mouths. Still disgusted by the unpleasant taste, I swallowed it forcefully. Lu Xiao was even cruel enough to eat the whole fruit. Not good. Ao Shin suddenly realized something and quickly said to the two of them, many of the animal bodies are very big. Go outside and don't collapse the house. Others were also shocked at this moment, and everyone hurriedly went downstairs. As soon as he arrived downstairs, Meng Kui's body changed uncontrollably. Moo! With a roar, his body muscles swelled violently. On the forehead, two sharp horns extend forward, and at the top of the head, there are also two black curved horns. The face quickly turned into a cow's head, and black cow hair that was as long and thick as a quar raincoat appeared on its body. Xuanan, also known as Aoyan, is supposed to be a white cow treasure, but I don't know why this fruit is black. Moreover, there was an eerie black light surrounding his body. This layer of black light was cold and dead. Ao Shin intuitively felt that the black light was dangerous and should be a strange element. Moo! Meng Kui completely transformed into a beast, and his four hooves were like hammers, hitting a zombie, directly breaking its bones. Then he stepped down, and the zombie was directly stepped on with a deep mark of a cow's hoof. He roared fiercely, and the black light on his body began to spread towards the zombies. Soon, the zombie's body began to decay and decay. Zombies are originally living dead and need to evolve from death to life, but now, these black lights directly make their corrupted flesh and blood wither. That black light is the ghostly aura of death. Legend has it that Junhen was born in the netherworld and carries the aura of the netherworld, but this is perfectly normal. Just as this place was shaking, Lu Xiao's body next to her also underwent tremendous changes. Its mouth is like a beak, and there is a flaming cockam on the top of its head. Feathers grow out all over its body, burning with golden flames. She turned into a chicken. A big rooster burning with fire. But isn't she supposed to be a hen? Ao Shin complained in his heart. Of course, the mythical beasts are probably male and female, they all look the same. The Pleiades chicken spreads its wings. She is more beautiful than the pheasant, and she has a vague look like a phoenix. Covered in golden flames, it is the true fire of the sun, which is higher than the heat temperature that Ao Shin can control. Sure enough, even dogs won't eat the xiao xiao fruit. Ao Chen was also complaining next to him. This bird is so beautiful. Although it is called a chicken, it can compete with the phoenix in elegance. The golden flames converge into the body, and Lu Xiao falls from the sky and transforms into a human animal form. Feathers composed of golden flames burned on the surface of the body, with a pair of wide wings on its back, and its feet and hands turned into sharp chicken claws. Speaking of which, Marco's phoenix is really miserable. In its human animal form, it turns its arms into wings. You know, even Bell in the form of bird fruit and falcon, his arms and wings do not overlap in his human animal form, and he can still use swordsmanship in his human animal form. Lu Xiao pulled out her saber, covered the blade with golden flames, and slashed at a zombie with one strike, easily decapitating its head. Moreover, the true fire of the sun continues to burn the corpses of zombies. Next to him, Meng Kui also woke up from his animalistic wildness and transformed into a human animal form. His human animal form is very tall, 3 meters tall. Thick and long black hair like a raincoat covered the body, and there were 4 horns on the top of the head. The aura of the netherworld was lingering, and the neck of a zombie was cut off with a single knife. The animal system provides them with powerful physical bonuses. Even if he still hasn't awakened his domineering energy, he is still enough to compete with the flesh corpse and not be defeated. This is the phantom beast species. Seeing the sudden strong strength of the two people, Ao Chen was envious. Wow, they are so strong. Why can my duobao rat have no choice but to escape? The ghostly aura and golden flames made the two of them look heroic, and the fierce sound of fighting here also attracted the attention of nearby neighbors. What the hell? On a tall building on the opposite side of the road, a young man looked at the majesty of the Zonin and the Pleiades chicken below, and quickly recorded the scene and uploaded it to the shrine space. Surprise! Another phantom beast appears in Bian City. Topics related to devil fruits always quickly become hot searches. Especially the footage of people with abilities using their abilities was extremely popular. Soon, this video was viewed by 100,000 people. 2 phantom beast species appear in one place at the same time. The probability is too low. Ah, I'm so jealous. I'm in Biancheng too. I'm going to join the big boss. With the blessing of the power of the phantom beast species, they quickly killed the zombies wandering near their home. However, after all, the 2 of them had not yet awakened their domineering power and lacked physical strength. Lu Xiao was the first to be unable to maintain her human-animal form. She was panting and deactivated her devil fruit ability, and knelt on one knee in front of Ao Xin. Master, thank you so much, Xiao will follow you to the death. Soon, Meng Kui also released his human-animal form and once again pledged his allegiance in front of Ao Xin. Boss, I will definitely build a big empire for you. They know that everything they have comes from Ao Xin. From the initial points, weapons, food, to the current devil fruit, there is no one more worthy of loyalty than Ao Xin in this world. Although their self-confidence has greatly increased due to the improvement of their strength, they have not had second thoughts because of it. Ao Xin can easily create their kind of fighting power, and naturally he can also create others. Such a person will surely become the overlord of the apocalypse. Well, get up. Ao Xin asked the 2 of them to stand up. Although you already have devil fruit abilities, the root of your strength is yourself. The first divine gift period is the realm of body training. The physical realm is the foundation for your foundation. The stronger the physical body, the stronger the fruit ability that can be exerted. In fact, as long as the physical body is strong enough, even without the fruit ability, you can still stand at the top. The physical training method is hockey. You must speed up the training of hockey. Don't let down the domineering energy of the 3 colors. In the future, the domineering color will play an increasingly important role. The use of domineering energy and fruit abilities consumes physical strength, so physical fitness is the foundation. Moreover, as zombies evolve, the concentration of zombie viruses in the air will become higher and higher. If you are not physically strong enough, you will also be infected by zombie viruses. You all have fruit abilities now, so self-protection is no longer a big problem. Spread out and kill the zombies. They naturally followed Ao Xin's words. Fighting is not only for points, but also for practice. Both parents also have superhuman abilities, and they seem to be cooperating quite well. His father even took away a few pieces of zombie corpses and said he wanted to study them. But there was no research equipment at home, so my father planned to go to the central hospital, where some equipment might still be usable. Ao Xin then began to hunt the corpses, break off their limbs and hand them over to Ao Chen for execution. It's a pity that Ao Chen's attack power is a bit low, and it takes a long time to chop off the neck of a corpse every time. No, it's a waste of time. Ao Xin frowned. Although this kind of simple beheading action can also play a role in training, the efficiency is too low, and Ao Chen's physical strength is limited. In this way, even if she scores more points, her strength will increase very slowly. In the end of the world, strength is more important than points. If you have strength, you will not lack points. If you have points but no strength, even if no one robs you, you will not be able to withstand the zombie virus and turn into a corpse. This is also the reason why even big forces rarely used this method to earn points in previous lives. On the streets, there are survivors who are using various methods to fight zombies. Even though more than 20 days have passed since the end of the world, there are still many people who have not obtained the domineering method. In comparison, the killing of zombies by Ao Xin and others is extremely eye-catching. They hope to be led by a strong person to get them out of this precarious life. Many Ran began to ask for information about Ao Xin and others in the God-given space, hoping to get in touch with the boss. I know, they live across from my building. The young man who saw the changes in the shapes of Meng Kui and Lu Xiao spoke in a Biancheng Survivors Exchange group. And tell everyone his location. Not only are the 2 new phantom beast species appearing, but Big Brother Qinglong is also with them. Another person who lives near Ao Xin and others said this. He had seen the scene when Ao Shin transformed into a blue dragon, and later discovered that Meng Kui was the strongest survivor nearby. He had the ability to kill zombies alone. Later, combined with the young man's video, he concluded that they were a team. Oh my god, 3 phantom beasts. Their luck is so good. One phantom beast species can sweep across a city. With 3 phantom beast species, they are already invincible in Bian City. No, it's okay to sweep through a small wireless city. We don't even have a single zombie in Biancheng now. I heard that 4-star zombies have appeared in the capital. I watched the video, and that thing punched out like a nuclear bomb. No one is its opponent now. I've also heard that there are several ability users in the capital, and there are even rumored ancient warriors. They joined forces, but they didn't even hurt the 4-star zombie at all, and several ability users died. Not everyone dares to fight zombies in the apocalypse. Many people hide at home, shivering. Their only pastime is to watch videos uploaded by others in the God-given space and chat with strangers. A strong person like Ao Shin, who has been in battle, has no time to pay attention to these news. I want to join these big guys, but I don't know if they will take me in. Finally someone returned to the topic, and someone sighed. I don't even dare to leave the door of my room now. Even if I know where the boss's house is, I still can't get through. The young man who lives near Ao Shin's home said, "Don't be so discouraged. These big guys have almost killed all the zombies near my house, and are now killing them elsewhere. Maybe they can eliminate the zombies in Bian City. I hope so. Ao Shin led Ao Chen to kill on foot in the distance. He did not activate the dragon transformation, but only used domineering force to fight against the enemy. A steel whip was still invincible. Brother, kill slower, I can't keep up. Ao Chen's small breasts kept rising and falling. Even if Ao Shin killed all the flesh corpses and killed 99% of the zombies she encountered, she still struggled to deal with the remaining 1%. Woo, why is my fruit not the fighting type like Sister Xiao? Ao Shin used his faster speed to get behind a zombie and slashed at the zombie's neck. However, he could only cut halfway in and was unable to cut off his head directly. Think about it, after Meng Kui and Meng Kui obtained the fruit power, they could kill ordinary zombies instantly. Boom, Ao Shin cracked a zombie's head with a whip, and the fierce battle made his blood boil. A domineering power flowed throughout his body and attached to his bones. He could clearly feel that his bones were rapidly strengthening with the help of this power. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It was the domineering force that was integrating into his bones. Once fully integrated, his bones would be as hard as steel. Even if the skin and flesh are broken and rotten, the bones will still last forever. This realm is called Iron Bone. In the west of Bian City, in a high-end community, more than 100 people gathered here. In front of them stood a man covered in scales. Phantom beast species. Humph. He slammed the pirate knife he exchanged from the God-given space on the ground. Bian City is mine. Qian Yi, did you find out clearly? The scales on the man's body fell off, revealing a resolute face. His figure was extremely strong and his skin was dark, as if he had been exposed to wind and sun for an unknown amount of time. Looking up, there are independent villas in this small community. Outside the community, there is an iron fence 2.5 meters high. Now, a layer of cement walls has been piled on these iron fences to block zombie attacks. Here, it seems like a paradise outside the world. In the villa behind them, there were disheveled women with eyes that had lost their luster. The oldest of them were in their 30s and 40s, and the youngest were only in their teens. But they are all pampered people with fair skin. It is in sharp contrast to the rough-skinned and rugged-faced men outside. Boss, please find out. They are in the Little Sun community, which is an older community. According to the friends who live nearby in the exchange group, the zombies in that community have been cleared away. A middle-aged man with messy hair was worried. Brother Kun, that's a species of fantasy beast. Can we be opponents? As soon as he finished speaking, a thin, one-armed man said immediately. What happened to the phantom beast species? Our brother Kun is an ancient species. Marco's phoenix is not necessarily better than Jin's pteranodon. Besides, our brother Kun is an ancient species more powerful than pteranodon. They seem to have great confidence in the man leading them. We have more people than them. The end of the world has just begun, and our physical strength is limited. We can grind them to death. Yes, Biancheng should belong to our brother Kun. From now on, all the women in Biancheng will belong to us. Feng Kun was greatly benefited from everyone's theories and compliments. Before the end of the world, he was just an ordinary middle-aged migrant worker. By chance, he got a strange fruit. He was not hamey and did not recognize the thing, but out of curiosity, he took a bite and accidentally swallowed it. Unexpectedly, when the end of the world comes, he directly gains the power of powerful ancient creatures. Not only can he easily kill zombies, he can also summon all the surrounding workers under his command. They also occupied the high-end community where they were constructing, killed the wealthy people, and took possession of their wives and daughters. Anyway, these rich people are not good people, and there is no sense of guilt in killing them in the apocalypse. Moreover, limestone and other materials were transported from the construction site to build a high wall outside the community, vaguely forming the prototype of a security base. As for the wife and children at home, in the apocalypse, as long as there is strength, there will still be a shortage of women. Of course, there are also workers who care about their families and insist on going home. Most of them have died on the road. Feng Kun sneered. He had long wanted to get rid of the ugly and fat middle-aged woman at home, and now he was asked to take that woman back. What a joke. Even the teenage boy at home, he had suspected for many years that he was not his son. Relying on the power of the powerful ancient species of animals and the assistance of his co-workers, he killed quite a few zombies. He also used points to exchange for a pirate knife from the God-given space. Everyone here obeyed his instructions. All the women in the house were also at his disposal. Phantom beast species. Phantom beast species also have to kneel in front of me. Feng Kun knew that there were still capable people in Bian City, but his previous strength was too poor. Now that he had weapons and practiced domineering every day, he felt that his body was much stronger than before. Therefore, he came up with the idea of sweeping away other ability users in the city. Those who follow me will prosper, those who go against me will perish. Take all the guys and follow me. Feng Kun put the long knife on his shoulder, waved his big hand, and more than 100 boys in front of him were dispatched. Opening the thickened door, they walked out of the community. The women in the room looked at this scene indifferently. Even if no one of these workers was left to guard them, they had no intention of escaping. Although you will be humiliated if you stay here, you can survive. If you go out, you will only die. In the streets of Biancheng, Ao Xin was crushing the heads of zombies while giving instructions to Ao Chen on combat skills. You're wrong. Since you don't have enough strength, you should make full use of your speed advantage. You should use the knife like this, pay attention to the force technique. Although Ao Xin doesn't use knives now, he used knives the most in his previous life. Although he is not an expert, he can still give advice to Ao Chen, a novice. Ao Chen listened attentively and kept every battle point Ao Xin told in mind. Her understanding is very high, and her combat skills have improved astonishingly. She sped up in an instant, rushed behind a zombie, raised her knife and slashed, the blade piercing the bones. The zombie roared, and when the zombie turned around, the girl had already turned behind him again. Ao Xin casually smashed the head of another zombie. When he saw a zombie next to him rushing towards Ao Chen, he did not stop him, wanting to train his sister's reflexes. The blade cut off the neck bone, and the zombies behind him were approaching. The girl didn't look back, she just sidestepped, swung the knife and scraped off the flesh and blood on her arm. Yo, okay. Ao Xin was surprised. This reaction speed was no longer just an ordinary reaction, but a symbol of awakening to the color of knowledge. Unexpectedly, Ao Chen awakened his seeing and hearing color before he awakened his armed color. With the help of knowledge and color, Ao Chen's fighting became more skillful. You need to learn to abandon those useless actions and complete the most efficient attack with the lowest physical consumption. Ao Xin continued to teach her his experience. He believed that his sister's smart little mind would definitely grow into a strong person in the apocalypse. I remember that there was a group of forces in the west of Bian City, entrenched in a high-end residential area. These people are quite powerful. The most important thing is that these people were migrant workers before the end of the world, and they are more familiar with infrastructure than others. Ao Xin quickly integrates the information he has remembered in his previous life. Zombies evolve quickly, and obstacles such as buildings and iron gates will no longer be able to stop them. If you want to build a safe base, these migrant workers with construction experience will be very useful. In addition, the water source is also a big problem. Now with water and power outages, the water source he stored is about to be used up. If you want to continue to survive, it is best to build your base on the bank of the Yellow River. Not only is there ample water, but more importantly, there are a large number of seafloor stones in the bed of the Yellow River in this section of Bianshui. Sea Tower stone is not only the nemesis of those with abilities, but its extremely hard nature is also the best building material in the apocalypse. The leader of this group of migrant workers is Feng Kun, an ability user of an ancient species. If I remember correctly, his fruits are animal-type dragon fruit, ancient species Tyrannosaurus rex form. Xiaochen, let's go west. Ao Xin led Ao Chen to the west of the city. He remembered that Meng Kui had gone to the west to hunt zombies before, and he didn't know whether he would meet Feng Kun's forces. In the early days of Bian City, in addition to Feng Kun's forces in the west of the city, there were also Zhang Heng's forces entrenched in the chemical plant in the south of the city, Yang Xiaofei's forces in the center of the city relying on the Drum Tower city for defense, and Xu Wenhao's forces in the north of the city who had drilled into the Iron Tower as a base. These four people were known as the four emperors of Bian City in their previous life. Among them, Feng Kun and Xu Wenhao are devil fruit users. The other two actually relied on their status as ordinary people and practiced domineering to maintain a stalemate with Feng Kun for a long time. Of course, no one emerged as the final winner in the end. It was annexed by a big boss in Chengdu, and this big boss also unified all the forces in Yuzhou and joined forces with the strong men in Jizhou to prevent the Desert Emperor Li Wei from expanding to the southeast. This is why Li Wei later fought north and west all the way to Central Asia. In the west of the city, Meng Kui knocked down a corpse and then struck its neck with a long knife more than 10 times before decapitating its head. This was not because the flesh corpse was too strong, but because Meng Kui was exhausted and could no longer maintain his human animal form. At the same time, the sword had also been sharpened during the long battle. Looking at the notches and curls on the blade, Meng Kui sighed. No wonder the boss liked to use blunt weapons. The sword was really incompetent. From now on, I will use heavy weapons like the boss. Meng Kui gasped and said to himself, there is Kaido's mace in the God-given space. I don't know if the boss will redeem it, but that is not the only redemption option. Even if the boss redeems it, I should be able to exchange it. Well, if it doesn't work out, I'll exchange it for the Yamato one. He is a rugged man, and his ruthless form is more powerful, so he despises weapons like swords. What kind of damage can it do if it's light and airy? By the way, he suddenly thought that there was Arida's mace in the God-given space. Kaido's and Yamato's sticks are both supreme sword-level weapons and are worth millions of points, but Arida's stick is different. It's just the quality of a good sword and is worth 10,000 points. 10,000 points can still be exchanged for if you work hard. Looking around, he saw that the zombies closest to him had been killed, and the other zombies were farther away. He planned to exchange them for a piece of water and meat to take a rest. On both sides of the street are kiosks and shops that have long been deserted. He planned to walk into a canteen and rest for a while with a table and chair against the door. The figure suddenly stopped, and a large group of people were walking towards here in a mighty manner. There are more than 100 of them. Although they are all ordinary people, they look like they used to do physical work and have very good physical abilities. They used various weapons to attack the surrounding zombies alternately, and actually turned into some kind of military formation. Even if he encounters a flesh corpse, he has the ability to deal with it, and the man who leads him is very strong. With his men restraining the zombie, he can easily cut off the zombie's head. I have to say that its leader is a talent. These people have some skills. Meng Kui touched his chin and thought, these people were getting closer and closer to him. Without thinking much, he took a few steps back, intending to let the group of people pass. However, they stopped in front of him. Is something wrong? Meng Kui was shocked. He was no longer the ordinary person he once was, and he was not afraid of others making trouble. He bit the meat in his hand and asked indifferently, "Are you the Phantom Beast type user?" A man with a resolute face came to him and said, "Come with me, I have endless food and endless women." Follow me, and I will make you alone. The man is crazy and has a knife on his shoulder. He is Feng Kun. If this man of the fantasy beast species becomes his subordinate, he will be more confident in becoming the master of Bian City. In the future, maybe we can expand our power to the entire Yuzhou. You, Meng Kui said disdainfully. Who do you think you are? Feng Kun was furious. Not only did this man refuse to surrender, he even dared to scold him. Since the end of the world came and he had become so powerful, he had not been so disobedient for a long time. It seems you want to die. Feng Kun grinned, showing his white teeth, pulled out the long knife from his shoulder, and threw the scabbard to the younger brothers behind him. You think you are invincible because of the phantom beast species. After slashing with his sword, Meng Kui met him with his long sword. Both of them were shocked and took a step back. What a strength! Meng Kui was surprised, and so was Feng Kun. Meng Kui thought that apart from the boss, there could be no one stronger than himself in this world. As for Feng Kun, he believed that his strength was even greater than that of a corpse, and humans were even less likely to be his opponents, but the other party was evenly matched with him. It seems that you are also a power-type fruit. Feng Kun turned his neck, his figure rapidly grew in size, gray-green scales covered his body, and his muscles became thicker and more powerful. A roar spread far away, and Feng Kun laughed wildly. I am the dragon fruit, the ancient species, and the Tyrannosaurus rex form. How many rounds can your fantasy beast species last in front of the Tyrannosaurus rex? He appeared in the form of a human and beast, and Meng Kui was shocked. He was exhausted. Although he regained some strength after eating water and meat, it would not last long. Come on, let me see how powerful the legendary phantom beast species is. Feng Kun slashed with his sword again, this time with the power of the Tyrannosaurus rex, making this sword even more powerful. The enemy is aggressive. How can Meng Kui endure it? With a roar, he transformed into a ruthless human animal form, and faced Feng Kun with the curled knife in his hand. Ox, Feng Kun challenged. How dare a mere herbivore compete with my mighty Tyrannosaurus rex? I'm not a vegetarian. Meng Kui sneered, the aura of the netherworld wrapped around the blade. If you are loyal to my boss, I can spare your life. Your boss? Ha 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 ha. It turns out you are just someone else's lackey. Feng Kun cut off the knife while exchanging words with Meng Kui. It's your honor to be my boss's lackey, you idiot, you don't know a good heart. The strength of both sides was equal, but Meng Kui's netherworld chi made Feng Kun feel heart palpitations. Although Meng Kui's sword had been curled, he still did not dare to let it hit him. Moreover, Meng Kui was originally a fighting coach. Although he had never practiced fighting before, his control of combat was not comparable to that of Feng Kun. Soon, he saw a flaw in Feng Kun. Netherworld slash. With a loud shout, the power of the netherworld extended out a huge black blade light from the blade. This was Meng Kui's initial development and application of the power of the netherworld. Netherworld slash is not a sword, and is not sharp enough. However, under the netherworld, everything decays. Even the defense of the Tyrannosaurus rex will be cut in two with this move. Feng Kun was shocked, knowing that he could not be touched by the power of the netherworld. Unless there are armed colors to defend, the defense of Tyrannosaurus rex is like paper in front of netherworld. He quickly dodged, but the younger brother behind him was not so lucky. At least a dozen people were struck by the power of the netherworld, and their bodies instantly decayed and turned into dust. After this move, Meng Kui could no longer maintain his human-animal form, and his body was shaking violently. This was due to excessive consumption of physical strength. Although a move was developed, the speed of this move was insufficient, and the angle at which it was struck was uncertain, which also caused problems with accuracy. This allowed Feng Kun to escape. Feng Kun was frightened when he saw a dozen people being killed instantly with one move. At the same time, he was glad that he waited until Meng Kui was exhausted from fighting the zombies before he showed up. Pointing the long knife at Meng Kui's throat, submit or die. Meng Kui faced the blade directly and was not afraid. You want me, Meng Kui, to surrender? Only my boss can do that in this world. You're not worthy yet. Feng Kun was furious. Aren't you afraid of death? Meng Kui smiled and said, death. In the last days, who dares to say that he will not die? However, the boss treats me with great kindness. Even though I, Meng Kui, am greedy for life and afraid of death, I am by no means a villain who will betray my trust. Okay, okay, Feng Kun said 3 good words in a row. Since you want to die, I will make it happen for you. Roar. He actually dropped the long knife, transformed into the shape of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and opened his mouth to bite Meng Kui alive. Even if he dies, he will make his enemy's death painful. Meng Kui closed his eyes with a bloody mouth full of fishy stench. Am I going to die? I failed to protect my parents and finally found a reliable boss who gave me so many good things and even gave me the most precious devil fruit. As a result, I was about to die before I had a chance to repay my boss. While lamenting, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. You dare to kill my people. A steel whip was thrown by Ao Shin with the sound of howling wind. The force of this throw was so strong and the speed was so fast. Feng Kun didn't even see what was coming. He only relied on his awareness of the crisis to turn sideways and barely avoided the vital point of his heart, but his shoulder blade was still pierced. I was horrified. Tyrannosaurus Rex is famous for its strength and defense. This person didn't even use the fruit ability or the domineering force. He just threw an object from such a long distance and penetrated his own body. His body can now even withstand ordinary bullets. In other words, the force of this man's throw is stronger than the bullet. Why are there such strong people in this world? Feng Kun was frightened. He turned around and saw a bamboo steel whip stuck on the wall not far away. This is it. Is it some kind of artifact? As he thought this, the person who attacked him was already in front of him. This is a young man wearing casual clothes, with a tall body and a handsome face. Behind the young man, there was also a cute girl. Feng Kun. Ao Shin slowly came to Feng Kun. He had seen this big dinosaur before in the distance. However, at that time, I was just a little Kurami without any fruits, while Feng Kun was a strong man who could be actively recruited by the big boss. But in this life, Feng Kun was just a little Kurami in front of him. Those who dare to touch me don't want to live anymore. His voice was not loud, but it made Feng Kun unconsciously feel fear in his heart. Ao Shin was as thin as an ant under the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but in his eyes, Ao Shin was as majestic as a mountain. Boss. Meng Kui was pleasantly surprised when Ao Shin appeared. It seemed that he would not have to die. But Ao Shin didn't give him a good look. If you can't even defeat a small reptile, it would be a waste to give you the phantom beast species. Meng Kui lowered his head in shame, not daring to argue. He was obviously a burly man in his 30s. He lowered his head and followed Ao Shin like a child who had made a mistake. In the apocalypse, do you dare to exhaust your energy casually? You think that with the phantom beast species, zombies are no longer a threat. Ao Shin ignored the huge Tyrannosaurus Rex in front of her and turned her back to Meng Kui to preach. Human beings are the most terrifying thing in the apocalypse. No matter what happens, you must keep the power to guard against people's hearts. He was not only admonishing Meng Kui, but also imparting experience to Ao Chen. Many people think that they have read many apocalyptic articles and know that the Holy Mother must be killed first in the apocalypse. However, when the apocalypse really comes, it is still difficult to completely abandon the kindness in their hearts, and they will always overestimate people's moral bottom line. This is not a matter that I can resolve decisively. Yes, boss. Meng Kui tasted Ao Shin's words carefully, and he knew that Ao Shin was passing on his experience. Seeing Ao Shin's arrogant look, Feng Kun immediately changed from panic to anger. Who are you? How dare you act rampant in front of me? He bit it down with a bloody mouth, trying to vent all the humiliation he had suffered before. Behind him, the more than 100 boys also turned around from the fear of their companion's instant death, and dispersed with a roar, surrounding Ao Shin and the other 3. Mob. Ao Shin ignored their surroundings and exuded a faint aura. This aura hit the depths of his soul and instantly amplified the fear in their hearts. More than 100 people collapsed on the ground, and some were even scared to the point of peeing. The yellowish liquid soaked into their pants and flowed out. The foul smell made Ao Chen frown. A punch hit the Tyrannosaurus Rex's cheek, and the fist wrapped in armed color hit Feng Kun's face faster than the Tyrannosaurus Rex's attack. Boom. There was a crisp sound. It was the facial bone of Tyrannosaurus Rex that was broken. The huge body fell backward. Severe pain hit him, and the fear of being shocked by the overlord color deepened again. Relying on the super endurance of the animal system, Feng Kun returned to his human form and struggled to stand up. Armed color, overlord color, how can you be so strong? His face was bleeding and several of his teeth were knocked out. He has completely lost the courage to fight Ao Shin. The two sides are not on the same level at all. Moreover, this person doesn't even have any fruit abilities. Just relying on physical skills left him powerless to fight back. Meng Kui, you were defeated by him. I leave it to you to deal with this man. Stepping over the bodies of the collapsed boys on the ground, he took out the steel whip deeply embedded in the wall and left with Ao Chen. At the same place were Meng Kui, Feng Kun and others. Who is he? After Ao Shin left, Feng Kun dared to ask Meng Kui. My boss, Meng Kui proudly announced, the legendary Qinglong boss. Is he the Qinglong boss? Feng Kun sat on the ground slumped. He didn't even use the fruit power, he easily defeated me with only physical skills. He thought he could subdue this phantom beast force, but as a result, Meng Kui almost killed him. If he hadn't attacked when he ran out of energy, he wouldn't even be able to see Ao Shin's face. Be loyal to my boss, or die. Meng Kui stood proudly. Although his physical strength has not yet recovered, Feng Kun was crippled by Ao Shin, and the others were too frightened by the overlord color to move. Even without using the fruit power, he can kill all these people now. Since Ao Shin did not kill these people directly but left them to himself, it means that Ao Shin intends to conquer them. Meng Kui speculated on Ao Shin's thoughts. Feng Kun was unwilling, but the huge gap in strength between the two sides made him feel desperate. His arrogance has been shattered by Ao Shin. I am willing to recognize Mr. Qinglong as my boss. Feng Kun looked back at the frightened younger brothers. What about you? Are you willing to join me and join Big Brother Qinglong? How can these younger brothers be unwilling at all? They are all pleasantly surprised. As for the killing of more than a dozen companions, what does that have to do with them? This group of people can even abandon their families. They are just a group of coworkers. Do they still want to avenge those people? What's more, Ao Shin is obviously a stronger person than Feng Kun. Following Ao Shin is definitely more promising than following Feng Kun. When they learned that boss Qinglong was also from Biancheng, they had the idea of betraying Feng Kun and joining Ao Shin. But on the one hand, they don't know the other party's specific address, so it's difficult to cross a city full of zombies. On the other hand, he was also worried about being discovered by Feng Kun and killed. In the end, even if Ao Shin is found, it's hard to say whether he will be taken in. Now that the other party has taken the initiative to accept them, it is exactly what they want. Yes, we are willing. We will be boss Qinglong's people from now on. Brother, what's your name? We can call you that too. Some of these young men immediately came up to show their courtesy to Meng Kui, which made Feng Kun feel cold. He secretly scolded this group of people for being unjust and devoid of any loyalty, but the situation was stronger than the others and there was nothing he could do about it. My name is Meng Kui, and the boss's name is Ao Shin. Meng Kui looked at the workers who were prostrating themselves with satisfaction, but you can't call the boss by his name at will, you must address him with respect. Do you understand? The workers kept saying they understood. While he was talking, the zombies wandering in the distance were attracted by the crowd gathered here and attacked here one after another. Meng Kui glanced at them, picked up his knife that had been curled and notched, and looked into the distance. The zombies are coming, keep fighting. Take me to your residence later. Meng Kui asked Feng Kun, can I still fight? Feng Kun's face was bleeding and his shoulders were bleeding. His facial bones were fractured and his shoulder blade was pierced by a steel whip. The injuries were really serious. If it weren't for the super endurance provided by the animal system, he would probably be in a coma now. Able, gritting his teeth, Feng Kun felt that he could not be looked down upon. Even if he had to be loyal to Ao Shin, his future must depend on his ability. With one arm hanging down and holding a knife with one arm, he stood at the front of the group of workers, acting as an arrow. Meng Kui stood at the end of the team, cleaning up the zombies chasing from behind. Although these people do not have high academic qualifications, they are very creative. With the advantage of numbers, they have found a simple way to fight against zombies. This approach works well in the early stages. In fact, the most suitable for this fighting method is the army. They have stronger physique and physical strength, coordination ability, combat experience and courage, etc. However, The military at that time wanted to eliminate the zombie crisis as quickly as possible and chose thermal weapons for mass destruction. As a result, the zombies evolved and the brave warriors suffered heavy casualties. Suddenly, a person let out a scream. He was bitten on the arm by a zombie. The severe pain made him sweat. However, the workers around him had already made a decisive decision to kill him. This is the rule they set when they first joined forces. No matter who is bitten by a zombie, the people around him will kill him immediately. This is also the reason why this small force can develop and grow and become one of the 4 major forces in Bian City. Meng Kui, who was at the end of the team, was surprised when he saw this scene. To be honest, the organization level of this migrant worker team is not low. He believed that if the coaches and students of his fighting club organized themselves, they would never have the ability to act like them. No wonder the boss wants to keep them. These people are indeed very extraordinary. This is the west of the city, very close to the villa area they occupy. Half an hour later, they had arrived at the villa. During this process, one person was bitten by a zombie again, and of course he was killed on the spot. Brother Meng, this is our safe base. A very tall young man came to introduce everything about them to Meng Kui very attentively. Feng Kun was very dissatisfied when he saw this scene, but he didn't dare to say anything or even hum. He could only follow Meng Kui silently. When other people saw this young man taking the lead, they were not willing to lag behind and stepped forward one after another. Brother Meng, let me tell you. Brother Meng. The chaotic shouting of a group of people made Meng Kui feel noisy, and he snorted, "Shut up." Everyone murmured and quietly bowed their heads and took 2 steps back. Meng Kui pointed to the young man who spoke to him at the beginning, "Keep talking." The young man was overjoyed and quickly introduced himself. "Brother Meng, my name is Zhou Shang, you can just call me Xiao Zhou. We are here." Zhou Shang introduced their details in detail, including each person's work, how they got together, how they captured this community, etc. Everything was explained in detail. "Are you migrant workers?" After learning about the experiences of these people, Meng Kui seemed to vaguely understand Ao Shin's intention of leaving them. But, did the boss know that this was a team of migrant workers before? Can't figure it out. But looking at the tall cement walls outside the villa and the various building materials piled up in the community, he had to sigh that these people could be considered talents. "Brother Meng, why don't you take our eldest brother over? This is a high-end villa community and our most distinguished eldest son should live in it." And, Zhou Shang rolled his little eyes and quietly approached Meng Kui. "Brother Meng, we have a lot of good things here." "Nice one." Meng Kui didn't believe it. Although he admired the organizational and construction abilities of these migrant workers, what good things could they have? No matter how good something is, can it be better than devil fruit? Zhou Shang saw his disbelief and said with a flattering smile, "Brother Meng, come and have a look in our house. I guarantee your satisfaction." Seeing the young man's confident look, Meng Kui became curious and followed him into the villa. As soon as he walked in, he saw many disheveled women, and he instantly understood what good things Zhou Shang was talking about. Although these women look a little haggard, they have fair skin and slim figures. Although they are not the most stunning beauties, they are still beauties in the eyes of ordinary people. "Brother Meng, these women are all very moist, and they are all yours now." The women saw a strange man coming in, but there was no reaction on their faces. It's just one more person using their bodies, and they have become accustomed to this kind of life these days. Besides, although Meng Kui is not very handsome, he has a tough face, a stylish figure, and is much cleaner than these migrant workers. Going to bed with him is much better than serving those migrant workers. "Brother Meng, if you are not satisfied, there are other villas. In this community, there are several women like this in every villa. They are all yours. Besides, the women in the villa behind are the most beautiful. Go and take a look." Zhou Shang rubbed his hands and introduced to Meng Kui. In the past, Feng Kun had to enjoy these women first, and Feng Kun also locked the most beautiful ones in his own house, and no one else was allowed to touch them. Now, Feng Kun could only follow behind and sulk, but he didn't even dare to show a dissatisfied expression. No, Meng Kui stopped Zhou Shang from continuing the introduction. He couldn't stand these women anymore. "Well, Brother Meng, what kind of women does our boss like?" Should we send some to him? Zhou Shang was still thinking of using these people to give gifts to Ao Xin, but Meng Kui frowned. Stop your thoughts, the boss doesn't like these women. In front of Lu Xiao, these people are like candlelight compared to the bright moon. Moreover, they have been toyed with for a long time. Lu Xiao is still in perfect condition, and Ao Xin has not even touched Lu Xiao, so how can he fall in love with these ruined flowers? Zhou Shang was glared at and was too embarrassed to speak. Okay, I already have a general understanding. You can continue as usual. I will come back to you after I report to the boss. He also added God-given space friends to each other with Feng Kun, Zhou Shang and others, so that he could contact these people at any time. After resting in the villa for a while, he left again after recovering his strength. The boss said that the first thing in the end of the world is your own strength. In the north of the city, Ao Xin and Ao Chen were hunting zombies towards the north of the city. These monsters that are terrifying in the eyes of others are just points one after another in their eyes. Phew, Ao Chen cut off the head of a zombie with a long knife. She is now becoming more and more skilled at beheading. After Ao Xin killed a large group of zombies, he left a corpse behind for Ao Chen to practice. The flesh corpse is equivalent to a strong human being in the bronze skin realm, but Ao Chen's duo Bao Rat's speed bonus is barely able to deal with it. Ao Xin was beside him and would give some advice from time to time. This kind of extreme battle can best stimulate human potential and is also the fastest way to improve strength. Half an hour later, Ao Chen finally beheaded the corpse. Although her body was extremely exhausted, her heart was filled with excitement. This was the first time she had fought over the top and won. After clearing away the zombies on the street, the two sat in a coffee shop to rest. In the God-given space, Ao Xin looked at his points, and now he has 12,000. He wants to exchange some fighting skills. The most suitable one now is the 6th form of the Navy, and each requires only 1,000 points, and the 6th form only costs 6,000 points. But he did not directly choose the 6 styles, but chose Return of Life. This ability is not unique to the Navy, but also to many pirates. It can obtain nutrients directly from the food it eats and use them to restore physical strength and even recover from injuries. Among them, Brook can even recover bone trauma by absorbing calcium from milk. Although there is no explanation in the animation, Ao Xin knows that this is a use of life return. With the return of life, his battery life will be greatly improved. But the points required to return life are also more, a full 10,000. Without hesitation, redeem the practice method of return of life directly. Just like the 3-color hockey, even if he has learned life return in the previous life, he still needs to redeem it again. This is actually a kind of practice license. The practice method of returning life came into his mind instantly, and he did not need to read it carefully. With the experience of his previous life, he can quickly master it as long as he gets permission to practice. With 2,000 points left, he chose Shaving and Moonstep from the 6 moves. Shave is a high-speed movement method, while Moonstep can walk on the air. Although his green dragon can fly, it needs to transform into a beast or human animal form and use the flame cloud to lift the body. Some trouble. It's not as simple and effective as the Moonstep. After the points were used up, he found that there was a message from Meng Kui to him in the communication channel. When he clicked in, he saw that Meng Kui had conquered Feng Kun's forces, briefly reported the information on Feng Kun's forces, and asked him what to do next. He actually didn't know much about Feng Kun's detailed information. He only had a rough idea in his previous life. But judging from Meng Kui's report, these people's professional abilities are pretty good. I remember that in his previous life, after Feng Kun surrendered to the big boss in Chengdu, he was responsible for building a safe base. Shang Meng Kui said, "These people belong to you, they are under your command. Feng Kun and others are not worthy enough to enter their own core lair, so they can be left to Meng Kui." In addition, he thought of the woman Meng Kui mentioned who was imprisoned by Feng Kun and others. These women cannot be imprisoned forever, otherwise their health will get worse and worse, and it will be difficult for them to withstand the increasingly strong zombie virus in the air in the future. When the time comes, it will cause a lot of trouble. However, even though they were imprisoned by Feng Kun and others, they could still become a force for themselves. After thinking about it, he sent another message to Meng Kui. I will leave these women to Lu Xiao to lead, and she will go to you later. He also sent a message to Lu Xiao, asking her to receive and integrate the imprisoned women. At the same time, he also transferred all the remaining 358 points after redeeming his combat skills to Lu Xiao as a way for her to gather those women. Startup capital. Lu Xiao didn't reply immediately, she was probably in the middle of the battle. After Ao Chen regained his breath, he took Ao Chen and continued to the north of the city. The target is Xu Wenhao's forces in the north of the city. He is also a devil fruit user. However, Ao Shin's target is not Xu Wenhao, but one of Xu Wenhao's men. He was a taciturn young man, probably only 14 years old when the apocalypse began. This person seems to be an ordinary person, but who knows that he will become the second in command in the power of the big man in the divine capital in the future. He dared to fight, and his craziness in fighting was frightening. People who knew him called him by a nickname from Water Margin. Fighting Saburo. Without devil fruit powers, he relied solely on physical skills to become the top powerhouse in the apocalypse. In the apocalypse, no one who dares to fight is weak. Even Yang Xiaofei and Zhang Heng, who had also become the leaders of a small force in Bian City at this moment, were overshadowed by this young man. In addition to this, there is also the most important point. This young man once helped him briefly. Chapter 41. The two walked slowly towards the landmark building of Biancheng, the Iron Tower. This tower is extremely strong. It not only withstood the artillery fire of the Japanese devils, but also resisted the attacks of zombies in the early days of the apocalypse. Once the gate is closed and the inside is blocked, no zombies can break through the tower in the early stage. The only disadvantage is that the space is relatively small and can accommodate a small population. This also led to the fact that there were not many members of Xu Wenhao's forces. Even when he became stronger and could fight most zombies, his forces were limited, and only his most core members could live in the Iron Tower. At this moment, 13 people were squatting in the Iron Tower. They were in their 40s and 14 years old, both men and women, and were resting in the tower. Brother Xu, I heard that there are 3 people with the ability of the mythical beast in our Bian city. If we can recruit them, our team will be invincible. We can't recruit people casually. The most important thing is their character, not their ability. They may not be willing to join our small team. In the previous communication group in the same city, wasn't there a man who called himself Brother Kun who claimed to have the ability of the ancient species of Tyrannosaurus rex? He also clamored to rule Bian City. Rule Bian City. He can kill all the zombies first. A group of people chattered. With Xu Wenhao's fruit ability, they got a lot of supplies from the nearby shopping mall, and there was no problem with their lives for the time being. What do you think, Xiaofei? Suddenly, a 30-year-old woman looked up and looked at the boy squatting in the corner of the tower on the upper floor. The boy's face was still childish. He had hardly spoken since he was pulled in by Xu Wenhao. Some people think that he is born with a dull personality. Some people think that it was the tragic death of his parents that caused a great psychological blow to the boy. However, what Xu Wenhao valued in him was his character of not being afraid, fighting desperately, but also being wise in the battle. A 14-year-old boy, with a completely inferior physical strength to the zombies, could still kill them by his own means. This calmness and composure, most adults can't do. Xu Wenhao felt that this kid must be a talent, so he helped him and invited him to join his newly formed team. But I think we can try to communicate with those people. If we want to survive in the end times, we need to help each other. Someone suggested so. But do you know how to contact them? The 3 exposed fantasy beasts have never spoken in our city communication group, and they must look down on us. Our brother Xu is also a capable person, why do they look down on us? You say so, brother Xu. Xu Haowen, who had been sitting on the stairs, didn't speak. He didn't have much ambition, he just wanted to survive well in the end times. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he made a gesture to silence everyone. Be careful, someone is coming. Everyone immediately shut up and stared at the gate. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and the gate of the Iron Tower was smashed. A figure appeared in the smoke and dust. Xu Wenhao, come out and talk. Ao Xin and Ao Chen stood in front of the gate of the Iron Tower. The gate was too low, and he didn't plan to go in. Xu Wenhao's heart sank, it was coming for him. The other party was able to come here through countless zombies, and was able to smash the gate forcefully. His strength was no worse than his own. Everyone in the tower looked at each other, and Xu Wenhao stood up. Brother Xu, the person who came is not kind, I'm afraid it's those fantasy beasts. Brother Xu, don't go out yet. Since the other party knows you, they must also know that you are an ability user. This means that they are sure of dealing with you. However, how can they control the current situation? Xu Wenhao sighed. The door is broken. If I don't go out, he can come in. By then, you will all be in danger. Stay in the tower, I'll go out and meet him. Several other people also said, Brother Xu, I will go with you. Yes, let's go together. Brother Xu, you saved me from the zombies. I owe you a life. Let's face that person together today. Xu Wenhao was a little moved. As the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed, but now it seems that there is no white-eyed wolf in the team. Nodding, even if these people hide in the Iron Tower, they are not safe. A group of people walked out together, and when they saw only 2 people on the other side, they were all surprised. Only 2. Besides, you don't have any fruit abilities. Ao Xin now doesn't need the Qinglong ability to kill these zombies and flesh corpses. After killing the zombies nearby, Ao Chen also released the fruit ability and restored his physical strength. A handsome boy and a beautiful girl, are they a couple? Handsome people always attract people's good impressions. The tension a few people felt before has also faded a bit, and they feel that it may not be as bad as they thought. Excuse me, are you Brother Kun, or one of those phantom beast species? Xu Wenhao stood at the front. He looked at the 2 people. Although they looked harmless, the young man gave him a faint feeling of pressure. After getting closer, my heart trembled unconsciously. This man is a master. His eyes focused on the steel whip Ao Xin carried on his shoulder, which contained the mucus left after smashing the zombie's head open. This weapon looks quite heavy. Anyone who can use this weapon must be extremely powerful, and is most likely one of those phantom beast species. Ao Xin. Ao Xin is also looking at Xu Wenhao and his group. Speaking of which, even in the memory of his previous life, Xu Wenhao's force was very unique. They support each other and still retain the warmth they had before the end of the world. Its degree of unity far exceeds that of other forces. However, when Xu Wenhao died in the end, he also died in this mode. He thinks he can identify everyone's character, but how can one measure the human heart? When his power was weak, it was nothing. When his power became strong, the people who joined him became more and more mixed. And he eventually died due to the betrayal of his companions. It can be regarded as a kind of holy mother. There are 2 types of virgins in the last days. One is to accuse others from a moral high ground and bring disaster to others. Commonly known as the virgin. There is also a type of people who are kind-hearted and just try their best to help others, but will not stand on the moral high ground and demand what others do. Such people often bring disaster to themselves. But as the leader of a force, Xu Wenhao's behavior would bring disaster to the entire force. I'm looking for you this time for only one purpose. Ao Xin glanced at the group of people behind Xu Wenhao, and finally fixed his gaze on a thin young man. I want to be alone. He pointed at the young man. This kid is destined to me. Xiao Fei. Xu Wenhao was surprised that this person actually came to ask for this young man. Is there a grudge against the boy? Or did you fancy something about him? Xu Wenhao was puzzled. The young man was shocked when he saw Ao Xin pointing at him. He was sure that he did not know this young man and had no involvement with him. But why did the other party name him? Ao Xin nodded. Yes, if I remember correctly, your name is Yuan Fei. Yuan Fei said in surprise. Yes, why do you know me? Xu Wenhao also asked. What do you want Xiao Fei to do? Ao Xin said bluntly. It would be a waste for him to follow you. I can tap his potential to the greatest extent. Xu Wenhao laughed twice. Although I, Xu Wenhao, am not a master, your words are too bullying. Ao Xin didn't have the time to argue with him, and punched out with a fist covered in armed color. The strong wind made Xu Wenhao change his expression. His fist instantly turned into steel and collided with Ao Xin's fist. However, the steel fist was dented by Ao Xin, and even Xu Wenhao's body flew far away. Brother Xu, how are you? The others were shocked. They had never seen Xu Wenhao suffer such a big loss. The young man in front of him just waved his fist, but even Xu Wenhao, who used the fruit-generating ability, couldn't resist it. Although Xu Wenhao was blown away, his body turned into steel, and after rubbing with the ground for a while, he did not suffer much damage. But when he looked down at his fist, he was horrified to find that his bones were cracked by Ao Shin's punch. Armed hockey. Xu Wenhao lost his previous arrogance and kept a distance from Ao Shin, looking at Ao Shin with an extremely wary expression. Your fruit ability is pretty good. It is the rarest natural type. If you develop it properly, you can become a master. Ao Shin stood with his hands behind his hands, and Ao Chen beside him was so proud that he almost looked at people with his nostrils. Ao Shin knows Xu Wenhao's ability. It is a fruit that has never appeared in the comics. Natural type TT fruit. Unlike the gold and gold fruit, the iron and iron fruit can be elementalized. Moreover, he can also create iron elements out of thin air, but the iron elements he creates cannot exist permanently once they leave him. Like the Terminator T-1000, he can turn into liquid metal and change the shape of his body. It can also control other iron objects around the body and change their shape and form, and can also manipulate them from a distance. For example, condensed steel balls are shot out like bullets. It can also be condensed into a sword blade, wielding a sword to kill people like a sword fairy. With the continuous development of the fruit's ability, he can also continuously compress the density of steel to enhance the hardness of the steel. But now, he can't even withstand an ordinary punch from Ao Shin. The fist wrapped in armament color directly hit the body of his iron element fist, beating his fist until it cracked. Do you want to continue talking? Ao Shin did not kill him directly. This man was good and valuable, but his character was too charitable and he did not like it. Therefore, he did not intend to directly accept Xu Wenhao's power, but only wanted Yuan Fei. What if I don't agree? After all, Xu Wenhao was unwilling to give up the promise he had made when he accepted this young man. He believed that although Ao Shin was strong, the opponent's sudden attack just now made him insufficiently prepared. If it was a real life and death fight, he would not necessarily lose. Disagree. Ao Shin's eyes turned cold. You will all die. Xu Wenhao refused to accept it, and the iron railings around him turned into molten iron under his control, and then turned into 5 steel balls, suspended in front of him. I admit that you are very strong and can awaken your domineering power so early. However, even if you can really kill me, you will definitely not feel better. There are so many zombies around you. After you kill me, will you still have the ability to deal with the zombies? Hey, you are so ungrateful. Before Ao Shin spoke, Ao Chen became unhappy. She pouted her little mouth and said arrogantly, my brother didn't even use the fruit ability or the weapon. He knocked you away with his bare hands. Do you think you have a chance to resist? Stop talking about you. Even if they are zombies, my brother has already killed 2 of them. Ao Chen's words shocked Xu Wenhao. Ao Shin still has fruit abilities. Biancheng is not big, and there are not many people with fruit abilities. As of now, it was revealed from the city communication group in God's gift space that there are 5 ability users in Bian City. They are Feng Kun and himself who have the Tyrannosaurus Rex fruit, as well as 3 mysterious phantom beast species ability users who have never spoken. This person is so powerful that he is most likely the green dragon or the 4-cornered black bull. He asked tentatively, are you a phantom beast with the ability to possess the blue dragon fruit? Ao Chen nodded and said, that's right. My brother didn't want to kill you, so he didn't use the fruit ability, otherwise you would have died by now. Besides, that boy, following my brother is better than following you. Although she didn't know why Ao Shin named this 14-year-old boy, her brother was a reborn person, so there must be a reason for what he wanted to do. Xu Wenhao took a deep breath. Blue dragon, even ordinary people who don't watch One Piece know how powerful this mythical creature is. If the opponent's combat power is fully activated, I am afraid that I will be killed in an instant. Without him, even if Ao Shin doesn't kill others, how long can others survive in the apocalypse? While Xu Wenhao was thinking quickly, Yuan Fei took the initiative to stand up. Brother Xu, I'll go with this big brother. Xiao Fei. Xu Wenhao felt that it was because he failed to fulfill his eldest brother's responsibilities that the younger brother had to endure. Yuan Fei said, Brother Xu, thank you for taking care of me these days. Xiao Fei will never forget it. If Brother Ao wants to kill me, it won't be so troublesome. I believe Brother Ao will not treat me badly. Xu Wenhao sighed. Well, if you are treated unfairly, you can come back at any time. Brother Xu will always be your brother Xu. Ao Shen looked at this scene indifferently. Although he has become cold-blooded and ruthless in this life, he is still willing to give these kind-hearted people a chance of life. As long as it doesn't get in your way. Yuan Fei said goodbye to Xu Wenhao and others one by one. He had nothing to pack and just held a steel pipe that he had always used for fighting. Arriving in front of Ao Shen, the stubborn young man imitated the plot he had seen in the TV series, knelt down on one knee and put his hand on his chest. Brother Ao, Yuan Fei is coming with you, please let Brother Xu go. Ao Shen glanced at him and put the steel whip on his shoulder, follow me. At this moment, zombies wandering in the distance have gathered here in large numbers. Ao Shen asked as he walked, have you learned domineering? Yuan Fei nodded. Brother Xu gave us 10 points each to learn armament hockey, but I haven't awakened yet. After Ao Shen added Yuan Fei as a friend, he transferred 20 points to him. Learn observation hockey and conqueror hockey as well. Next, you will be greeted by endless battles. Yuan Fei did not refuse, took the points, and exchanged the remaining 2 colors of hockey, and instantly understood the method of practicing hockey. Fighting is still fighting. Perseverance, the spirit of never giving up, and the courage to live in the face of death. This is the basis for awakening conqueror hockey. Zombies gathered together, and Ao Chen entered the human beast form and began to fight with them. After awakening observation hockey, ordinary zombies were no longer her opponents. Even if it was a 1-star flesh corpse, Ao Chen could kill it after a fight. Yuan Fei picked up a steel pipe and hit a zombie. This place, except for the 2 of them, had been cleared out by Ao Shen. It was easy for him to kill ordinary zombies now. There was no challenge at all. The only 2-star zombies that could make him serious were zombies. It's about time for zombies to appear in Biancheng. Ao Shen narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. Although fighting these ordinary zombies can earn points, the effect on improving strength is minimal. He is now domineering and is not far from the Iron Bone realm. Without fierce battles, his domineering practice slowed down. Not far away, Xu Wenhao saw Ao Shen easily kill all the zombies that surrounded him, and he was more convinced of Ao Shen's strength and terror. When he saw Ao Chen's human beast form, he was surprised. Ao Shen's sister is also a person with abilities. The companions around him have begun to record the scenes of Ao Shen's battle and upload them to the God-given space. Surprise! The mysterious Qinglong boss appeared. He has awakened his domineering, and he kills zombies like killing dogs. Another person with abilities appeared in Biancheng, and it turned out to be Qinglong boss's sister. The 2 videos quickly went viral, and countless people left messages below. Oh my god, this boss is too strong. I have to lead one of those zombies away and use obstacles to kill them, but the boss just hits them one by one. Can the boss kill zombies at this speed to eliminate the zombies in Biancheng? Woo woo woo, who knows where the boss lives? I am willing to warm the bed. Of course, some people also noticed Ao Chen in the human beast form. That beast-eared girl is so cute. What ability is it? It looks like a little white mouse. I don't see any special abilities. I wonder if it is a fantasy beast species. The sister of the Qinglong boss must be a fantasy beast species. Everyone was talking about it, and Ao Shen and the other 2 were gradually walking away. Xu Wenhao looked at his broken fist and thought, we are all capable people, why am I not as good as him? He used his ability to condense a steel knife and held it in his hand. Brothers, we should continue to fight. In the distance, Ao Shen returned with 2 people. Although Yuan Fei was thin and had no fruit ability, his madness in the battle surprised even Ao Chen. He handed a piece of shui shui meat to Yuan Fei to help him recover his strength, and then continued to fight. Halfway through, when the 2 of them had consumed so much strength that they couldn't even replenish the shui shui meat, Ao Shen took them into a Kaifeng cuisine store. After clearing out the zombies in the store, they blocked the door with a few tables, and Ao Shen and Ao Chen sat on both sides of a table. Yuan Fei went to a corner alone. Glancing at Yuan Fei's thin body, Ao Chen quietly asked Ao Shen, brother, why do you have to have him? Ao Shen said, this kid is not ordinary. In my previous life, he made a big name for himself. Moreover, Yuan Fei's loyalty is different from others. As long as the force he lives in exists, he is the type who will never rebel even if he dies. But if the power dissipates or the boss dies, he will not avenge the force. After joining the next force, he will still serve the next force wholeheartedly. Very strange. Therefore, as long as he does not die, Yuan Fei will be die hard. If he died, he would not place his hopes on others. While the two were chatting, there was suddenly a thumping sound. It was very slight at first, but it became more and more heavy. In the end, it was like beating a drum. Brother, where does this sound come from? Ao Chen looked around with his big eyes open, hoping to find the source of the sound. Even Yuan Fei, who was sitting silently in the corner of the back row, suddenly sat up straight and held the steel pipe in his hand tightly. Come yet. Ao Shen's eyes were fixed on the kitchen. Squeak, 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 squeak. With the sound of the wall being broken open, a large group of cat-sized mice rushed out of the sewer. The moment they appeared, their rolling eyes looked at the three people sitting in the store. Ah, rat, such a big rat, Ao Chen screamed in fright. Where have you seen such a big rat in the north? Not to mention the north, even the rats in the south are not that big. Ao Shen was speechless. You are a little mouse yourself, why are you still afraid of mice? Ah, which one is that? Ao Chen jumped on the table with a cry. I am a cute duobao mouse, not this disgusting big mouse. The rats only paused for a moment, then pounced on Ao Shen and others like dogs seeing a bone. However, a soul-shuddering overlord-colored coercion descended, and the rats' movements suddenly came to a standstill. As animals, they sense danger more acutely than humans. That overbearing look is like facing one's own natural enemy, stimulating the ancient fear inherited from the blood. Ao Shen just sat there quietly. In the eyes of these big mice, what they saw in front of them was a mighty green dragon that was 100 meters long. In the corner of the hotel, Yuan Fei, who had already arched his body and prepared to fight, also quietly breathed a sigh of relief at this moment. There were such big rats, and they were very agile, almost as fast as flesh corpses. He didn't think he could survive among the rats. As the mouse still, Ao Chen, who had jumped from the table to behind Ao Shen, revealed a cute little head. She was so frightened that she turned into a human animal form, ready to be happy at any time. Ao Shen said, You are not even afraid of zombies, but you are still afraid of mice. Ao Chen grabbed the clothes on his back tightly and whispered, That's different. We've seen a lot of zombies in movies. Rats are mainly panicked because of their diaphragms. Brother, aren't you going to kill them? Why are you leaving a bunch of rats? Kill. Of course I have to kill. Ao Shen stood up and walked to the largest rat. As he approached, the overbearing pressure became heavier and heavier, and the bodies of the rats in front of him actually began to tremble. Squeak, squeak. The mice didn't dare to raise their heads. They couldn't imagine that there were such terrifying creatures in the world. Ao Shen put his hand on the head of the big rat. When he put his hand on the messy hair, he could feel the rat under his hand shaking into chaff. Taking his hand away from the big rat's head again, Ao Shen moved the tables and chairs blocking the door of the store, knocked a few zombies crowded in front of the door to death, and then dragged the zombies into the store and placed them at this end. In front of the big mouse. You're hungry, let's have a taste. Like feeding a pet, he invited the big rat to eat with a soft tone. But the big mouse still didn't dare to move. Snapped. He slapped the big mouse on the head and said, Eat. GG, GG. The big mouse bared its teeth and screamed. It had no understanding of human nature and did not understand why it was being beaten. After being slapped again, it seemed to vaguely understand that the man in front of it wanted to eat these rotten pieces of meat. After trying to take a bite, a strange energy rushed into its body. The big rat was stunned for a moment, then began to tear into pieces of zombie flesh crazily. Ah, very good. Ao Shen stood quietly watching it eat, while Ao Chen followed closely behind him, not daring to leave. Brother, why are you feeding it zombie meat? A group of giant rats are eating zombies. This scene is super disgusting, isn't it? At this time, even Yuan Fei, who was sitting alone in the corner, cautiously came to Ao Shen. In fact, a group of mice as big as fat cats filled the entire restaurant, which was a bit scary. The rat gnawed on the corpses of the zombies. Its stomach was like a bottomless pit. It ate a whole thigh without any bulging. Finally, After it ate both thighs, its body doubled in size again. The Rat King, who was built like a medium-sized bulldog, bared his fangs and had a fierce light in his pupils. He was no longer as obedient as before. Squeak! The Rat King gave an order, and the rats, frightened by the king's color, immediately jumped up and rushed towards Ao Shin and others. The Rat King even went straight for Ao Shin's throat, intending to bite it off. What green dragon! At this moment, the Rat King felt that he could slay a dragon. Beasts are still beasts, and they don't know how to be grateful at all. Ao Shin smiled faintly, and at the same time, he used his hands hard and his fingers were like hooks to crush the big rat's head. He spurted out a mouthful of hot breath and burned all the rats to ashes. Squeak! Squeak! The Rat King, whose skull was shattered, was still struggling, moving around trying to bite Ao Shin. Crack! The dragon's claws closed and the rat's head was crushed by him, leaving only a pool of blood and a small crystal in the palm of his hand. Huh, what is this? Ao Chen looked at the crystal in his hand curiously. If it hadn't been stained with the blood and brains of mice, she would have taken it and looked at it carefully. Is it the crystal nucleus that is common in novels? When all the rats were wiped out, Ao Chen returned to his usual liveliness. Does eating this thing make me stronger? This thing is so disgusting, I don't want to eat it. Ao Shin casually pulled out a piece of tablecloth and wiped the crystal clean. This crystal is very small, only the size of a fingernail, with an octahedral structure. In the center of the crystal, there is a tiny thread floating. I don't know what it is. It can be considered a crystal core, but it is different from the crystal core you know. Ao Shin explained. This thing is only useful for us ability users. It is called Awakening Crystal. It can help ability users improve their fruit abilities and accelerate fruit awakening. As for improving the realm of strength, you still have to rely on fighting to exercise your domineering spirit. This thing is useless. Awakening crystals need to be swallowed by zombies. Those who are infected by the zombie virus but not transformed will have a chance to give birth to this crystal in their minds. Generally speaking, the leader of a biological group has a higher probability of giving birth to crystals. In the previous life, when people discovered this thing, they began to find ways to raise various creatures and feed them zombie meat to achieve the purpose of artificial output. There are even crazy organizations that use people as petri dishes. Humans are also part of biological organisms, so naturally they can also produce this kind of crystal core. There are also crazy people who want to improve their strength by producing crystal cores. However, this kind of crystal core will devour the brain and distort the soul. Not only will it cause genetic mutations and no longer be human, but even the soul is no longer itself, becoming a new and more dangerous species. They are called crystal people. Crystal people evolve by devouring zombies, and the flesh and blood of the same race also have a strong attraction to them. Of course, the crystal brain of crystal people is also a great tonic for those with abilities. When the two sides meet, they will fight to the death. He explained to Ao Chen the use of awakening crystals. In the future, we will also have a cultivation base, which can not only accelerate the development of fruits, but also sell well. This is also the reason why he wants to build a power, not only to protect his family, but also to do many things alone. Now with the group of migrant workers of Feng Kun's power, he can consider building a primary base. After resting, the three walked out of the house. On the street, even if he killed so many zombies, the streets that were cleared soon had zombies wandering again, and the number of zombies in the city did not decrease at all. On both sides of the street, people can occasionally be seen fighting against some buildings. The apocalypse has been going on for more than half a month. The annihilation of the military has let everyone know that they can only rely on themselves in the apocalypse. They have to find ways to obtain supplies, kill zombies to get points, and fight to improve their strength after getting points. Suddenly, the streets became chaotic. Not only did people run into the houses, but even the zombies seemed to see their natural enemies and fled in all directions. Those were zombies without any wisdom. There was only one possibility for this situation. That was the appearance of higher-level zombies. Under pressure, it did not allow these low-level zombies to appear around it. Roar! The roar resounded through the sky. Ao Shin was already familiar with this voice. Even Ao Chen immediately recognized the source of the sound. Brother, it's a zombie. Not far away, a zombie with stiff limbs that could only jump forward drove a large number of zombies to chase humans. Those who relied on their cleverness to use the terrain to trap the zombies and kill them, the obstacles in front of them were instantly broken. Even the hard reinforced concrete walls were easily penetrated by zombies. The metal sheet of the car was like thin paper, and the thick electric poles were as fragile as biscuits. The appearance of zombies made the buildings that humans relied on for survival become decorations. Screams rang out again, and panic spread, but where could these ordinary people escape? The houses were smashed, and the streets were full of zombies. They soon became food in the mouths of zombies, or were infected and became part of the zombie army. Ao Shin held a steel whip and said to Ao Chen, "Stand far away, protect yourself, and go underground directly when there is danger." Ao Chen nodded. She was already familiar with this process. A loud dragon roar sounded, and Ao Shin turned into a dragon man, holding a steel whip, and strode towards the zombies. Clang! The steel whip collided with the zombie's arm, and the zombie's King Kong-like arms were hit directly and sank. Amidst the roar of the dragon, Ao Shin stepped forward, raised the steel whip again, and hit the zombie's head hard with great force. Clang! Electricity was wrapped around the steel whip, and the zombie's skull was directly hit and cracked. Roar! The zombie swung his arms together, trying to kill this strange human being. However, Ao Shin reached out with his left paw and grabbed the zombie's right arm. The tyrannical force prevented the zombie's arm from moving forward. The steel whip in his right hand was smashed out again, and the zombie's left arm was smashed open again. Moreover, the skin on his arms was torn and the bones were cracked. At this moment, Ao Shin is much stronger than the first time he fought against zombies. Hot breath spurted out from the dragon's mouth, and the distance between the two sides was only 30 centimeters. At such a close distance, the zombies had no chance to escape. The scorching flames sprayed on his face, scorching his flesh. Bad wind. After the flames, there were countless wind blades that directly scraped off all the burnt flesh of the zombies. Only a bare skull remained. On the skull, cracks can be clearly seen, which is the effect of the steel whip. Boom! The steel whip hit again, hitting the crack created by the first hit. The zombie's head cracked open, and his brain was spilled on the floor. The whole battle lasted only 3 seconds. A survivor on the rooftop not far away saw the fighting below. The arrogant zombie was killed instantly, which had a huge impact on his outlook on life. Okay, so strong. Qinglong's human animal form is the rumored boss Qinglong. It's a pity that this battle was not recorded. On the street, Yuan Fei, who was watching from a distance, was also shocked. He already knew that Ao Shin was very strong, but he didn't know that he was so strong. The young man's eyes showed admiration. In the last days, this is what a man should be like. How about it, my brother, please be strong. Ao Chen proudly showed off to Yuan Fei, as if she was the one who killed the zombie instantly. Strong, I will definitely become as strong as brother Ao Shin in the future. The young man swore secretly. Ao Shin came from a distance and had also released his dragon transformation. At the last moment of the battle, he felt his domineering energy completely fused with his bones. At that moment, his strength increased more than 10 times. This is the second realm of body refining, the Iron Bone realm. Entering the Iron Bone realm and adding the Azure Dragon Fruit, he is strong enough to fight against the 3-star Hairy Corpse. But now there are no hairy corpses in Biancheng, but there are in the provincial capital next door, but he will not go to the provincial capital just to kill the hairy corpses. In the villa area in the west of the city, Lu Xiao had also rushed here after seeing Ao Shin's order. On the way, she met Meng Kui, and they both headed to the villa area at the same time. In the community, Feng Kun and others were shocked when they saw the woman who followed Meng Kui. They felt that the women they imprisoned were beautiful enough, but compared to this tall beauty, they were just trash. He swallowed unconsciously and was kicked in the chest by Meng Kui. This is the boss's woman. Put away your dirty thoughts. However, there was also a small man who was secretly staring at Lu Xiao, his eyes scanning her exquisite figure repeatedly. Meng Kui was furious and chopped off his head with a knife. The head fell to the ground, and the migrant workers just woke up. Meng, brother Meng, I'm sorry. My fault. Zhou Shang slapped him hard on the face, with such force that his cheek swelled up at a speed visible to the naked eye. After Feng Kun saw it, he cursed in his heart and slapped himself. Brother Meng, I'm sorry. The other migrant workers followed suit, and the sound of their own mouths being slapped could be heard in the yard. Even after they finished smoking, Zhou Shang and Feng Kun checked whose face was not swollen. Your attitude in admitting your mistake is too bad, and you are disrespectful to Brother Meng and the boss. Brother Meng, do you want to kill him? Zhou Zhang's words frightened the man, and he quickly swung his bow left and right. Soon, his cheeks became swollen. Meng Kui watched all this with cold eyes. It wasn't until blood started flowing from the man's nose and mouth that he shouted to stop. Okay, next time, I'll kill you without mercy. Yes, yes. The migrant workers lowered their heads and agreed. After the farce was over, Lu Xiao finally said, "Where are those women? Bring them all out." The voice was cold, and even such ruthless words still made people feel seduced. However, Feng Kun and others no longer dared to have any unreasonable intentions. He quickly went to bring out all the women in the villa. These women looked numb. They didn't know what kind of fate awaited them. But as long as they could live, could there be a more tragic fate than now? Outside the house, they stood in 3 rows. In addition to the man who made Feng Kun nod and bow, there was another extremely beautiful woman. The woman is tall and slim, with fair skin and small and charming cheeks. It belongs to the type that makes a woman's heart flutter after seeing it. Her temperament was even more embarrassing, confident and noble. There was a long knife hanging on her waist. Feng Kun and others lowered their heads and did not dare to look at her. Even the strong man seemed to be hiding behind this woman. Is she the leader of this powerful man? Women think so. We are both women, but the gap between us is really big. Keep your head up, Lu Xiao shouted coldly, and these women looked up unconsciously. Their mental state was very bad, and some of them were even coughing. This is not a good sign. Lu Xiao has learned from Ao Xin that infection does not only occur if you are bitten. There are also a large number of zombie viruses in the air, which can directly infect weak creatures. My name is Lu Xiao, and from today on, you will be under my command. Lu Xiao said straight to the point, fight with me, and you won't have to endure this humiliation anymore. But these women were very ungrateful. One of them snorted and said, fight zombies. Then I'd rather sleep with a man. While speaking, she coughed and looked a little pale. There are quite a few people who hold her idea. Yeah, why fight? That's basically going to die. I just heard the noise in the yard. Aren't you also a toy of a strong man? Why are you pretending to be noble? Haha, you think holding a knife means you are a female warrior? Why should I listen to you? These women kept talking to each other. From the beginning they only dared to speak in a low voice, but in the end they were scolding them in as many and unpleasant ways as possible. Lu Xiao's eyebrows stood up, her hands burned with golden sun fire, and she pinched the throat of the woman who scolded him the most. In the blink of an eye, the woman was burned to charcoal. The charcoal ash was scattered all over the floor, shocking the other women as well. They dare not continue beeping anymore. He didn't even dare to scream. He was afraid that he would be burned to death like this if he angered Lu Xiao. Are you scolding me? Why don't you scold me anymore? Lu Xiao extinguished the flames on her hands and glanced at them coldly. The migrant workers standing respectfully in front of Meng Kui were also shocked when they saw the sun was really burning. It turns out that the third rumored phantom beast type user is Sister Lu. They were in awe and horror. Meng Kui and Lu Xiao were both under Ao Xin. The power of the 3 phantom beast species was invincible. Now that I think about being taken under their command, these people feel that it is even more worthwhile. Isn't this better than following Feng Kun? Unfortunately, the opportunity to flatter him was snatched away by Zhou Shang. Now, Meng Kui often asks Zhou Shang directly when asking questions. Zhou Zhang's status is vaguely higher than Feng Kun. He secretly scolded this boy for being shameless, but he was extremely envious of him. But the opportunity was seized by Zhou Shang, and they could only sigh. Lu Xiao killed one person directly, and then they discovered that this beautiful woman was equally ruthless. You think you'll be safe just by hiding and letting men play with you, with food and shelter? Lu Xiao said, there are also zombie viruses in the air, which can infect weak creatures. And, as more zombies are killed and the apocalypse progresses, the zombie virus in the air will become more and more concentrated. If you don't practice, even if you hide, you will be infected and become a zombie. Her words made the crowd commotion, not only the women, but also the migrant workers. These are things they don't know. In the previous life, no one discovered this truth until much later. But at that time, 90% of the people in the world were already dead. Practice your domineering energy, train your body, and become a strong man. Not only will it give you dignity in the apocalypse, but you will also be able to live well. Lu Xiao slowly circled around these women. You were right, I am the master's plaything. But that is because I am lucky and have good vision. The master has never looked down on me. Your luck is not as good as mine, so all you can rely on is your own perseverance. Become stronger. At least you can choose which strong person to be the plaything of, rather than just anyone being able to play with you wantonly. I heard from Meng Kui that some of you are the wives and daughters of rich people in this villa area, and some of them were robbed from the neighboring communities. Your husbands, children, and parents were killed by zombies, and they were also killed by them. Don't you want to take revenge? At this time, the eyes of some women in the crowd were ignited with the flame of hope. The migrant workers watching on the side opened their mouths in surprise. Brother Meng, this. Zhou Shang relied on his favor and whispered beside Meng Kui, but Meng Kui glared at him. Shut up. Over there, a woman who looked about 20 years old looked at Lu Xiao. Can you really let us take revenge? Her eyes turned to the migrant workers again, and the person she was looking at was none other than Zhou Shang. The cheeks were twisted, that was caused by anger. Lu Xiao smiled faintly and said softly, I make the decision and give you a chance for a fair duel. As long as you are strong enough, you can kill your enemies under my auspices. The woman asked loudly, what if I pass you? Lu Xiao said, in this world, the strong are respected. Good. The woman took a step forward, I will fight you. Lu Xiao smiled and said, very good, what about you? She asked the group of women. Fight with me and become my subordinate. I will be responsible for your food and give you a chance to become stronger. At the same time, you no longer need to serve these men. If you don't agree, I won't force you. You will continue to be a meat toy here. The women started whispering, and after a while, one of them asked. But what if your master wants us to accompany him? Lu Xiao looked a little displeased. Master didn't even touch me, so he would like you. Of course, if the master really wants you to sleep with him, you have to do it. However, from now on, only master can force you to do such a thing. The women discussed quietly for a while again, and finally, another girl stood up. I'm willing to fight too. If there is one, then there are two, and the girls and young women stood up one after another, until the last 5 people were left in place. What about you? A woman who looked about 30 years old smiled bitterly. Zombies are too scary. Fighting means death, and getting infected means death. Let's just count how many days I can survive. The others were silent, but that was basically what they meant. The girl who first stood up couldn't help but said, Sister Tang, there are only 5 of you now, there are more than 100 of them, you will die. The woman known as Sister Tang lowered her head. That's better than being bitten to death by zombies when you go out. Lu Xiao did not force them. Okay, everyone has their own ambitions, and I have said everything that needs to be said. Then he pointed to the girl who spoke first. What's your name? My name is Bai Sisi. I am 19 years old. Seeing Lu Xiao calling her name, Bai Sisi was keenly aware of this opportunity and quickly reported her name and age. Lu Xiao nodded and did not ask her what grudge she had with that Zhou Shang. She doesn't care about these things. From today on, you will be my deputy. Lu Xiao's words made Bai Sisi overjoyed and responded loudly, yes. Stand at the top, starting with you, and count. Bai Sisi shouted loudly, 1, 2, ... Counting is something they often did when they were students, and they are very familiar with it. 31. When the count was over, Bai Sisi said loudly, Sister Lu, there are 31 people in total. She has already put herself into the role of Lu Xiao's deputy. Lu Xiao nodded and said, you have been lacking exercise all year round and have been imprisoned for a long time. Your body functions have declined. I will give you 10 points each to exchange for the armed color domineering practice method. From now on, you will all run around the community for me. She did not directly send these people into battle, which would be the same as asking them to die. After asking them to add themselves as friends, they transferred 10 points to each of them. The women accepted it in surprise. It seems good to follow this mysterious woman. Next to him, Zhou Shang saw that the women had already started queuing up for a run after redeeming their weapons. Only then did he dare to say, "Brother Meng, do you really want them to seek revenge from us? None of them have clean hands. If they are really seeking revenge, they are really worried about being beaten to death." Meng Kui glanced at him. "Are you afraid?" "I'm afraid, Brother Meng. You can see how cruel that little girl's eyes are. She really wants to kill me." Zhou Shang wanted to cry. Who knew that these imprisoned women would one day turn around? Meng Kui said, "As long as you are always stronger than them, do you have to worry about being sought for revenge? Stop standing around and come with me to hunt zombies." All the migrant workers had grim faces and did not dare to speak. They picked up their various weapons and followed Meng Kui out of the villa area. Lu Xiao watched the women running around the villa community and reported to Ao Xin that she had initially accepted them. Ao Xin just replied, "Not bad, they are under your command and don't need to report to me." Just like handing over the migrant workers' corps to Meng Kui, Ao Xin was too lazy to take care of these things. If these people don't work, they can be replaced at any time, as long as the core people are controlled. Ao Xin took Ao Chen and Yuan Fei back to her home and gave Yuan Fei the room opposite on the first floor. "You stay here from now on, and I will send you some food later." Then, he took Ao Chen upstairs. At this time, his parents had not returned yet. Put the awakening crystal in Ao Chen's hand. Put it in the palm of your hand and feel it with your heart, and the energy in it will flow into your body, which can strengthen your devil fruit ability. Ao Chen weighed the crystal curiously and put it into the palm of his hand as Ao Xin said. Soon, a warm energy flowed from the crystal into his palm, and then flowed from his palm to his whole body. She unconsciously entered the human animal form. At this moment, she felt as if she had really become a Dobby rat, temporarily forgetting everything about humans. Half an hour later, Ao Chen opened his eyes and said in surprise, "Brother, my treasure storage space now has 20 cubic meters. And the range in which I can detect treasures has also been expanded by 1/10. She transformed into a multi-talented rat and escaped underground, and found that she could escape much faster. He emerged from the ground, transformed into a human form again, and jumped around Ao Xin. "Brother, this crystal is amazing. Now I can hold more things." The biggest benefit to her from the strengthening of the fruit's ability is that the treasure storage space is doubled, and the range of perception and escape speed are actually not greatly improved. "But brother, why don't you use it yourself? If you eat it, your green dragon will be stronger." Ao Chen suddenly thought of this problem at this time. He felt that using the awakening crystal was a waste. Let his brother use it, and he will be stronger. Ao Xin smiled and said, "I am already in the iron bone realm and am very strong. The stronger I am, the faster the fruit will develop. Besides, this crystal is too small, so it doesn't have much effect on me. But it's different for you. You are our family's purse." He expected that Ao Chen's treasure hiding space would be much larger, but now it seems that he has not been disappointed. The two talked for a while, and Ao Xin took out a lot of food and fresh water from a house that was used as a warehouse and sent it to where Yuan Fei was staying. "What kind of weapon do you want? A knife or a sword?" Ao Xin asked Yuan Fei about his wishes. "This boy is very valuable to cultivate. If you give him a good weapon, he will grow faster." But after Yuan Fei thought for a moment, he said, "I've used kitchen knives before, and I've also made an axe. The blades were prone to curling, and I didn't have a steel pipe to use them. And I see that Brother Ao also used a blunt weapon, so I should use a blunt weapon." Ao Xin entered the God-given space and took a look. Now that Yuan Fei is young, although he dares to fight, his strength is limited after all. Without fruit abilities and no awakened domineering power, weapons such as Arida's mace are too heavy for Yuan Fei. After searching for a while, he saw something nice. Steel water pipe. It is an ordinary water pipe, but Saab, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, still uses it as a weapon even after becoming famous. It should not be underestimated. Price: 10 points. This thing is not even a weapon. You must know that the cheapest pirate knife or navy knife requires 100 points. But this steel pipe only requires 10 points. After exchanging it and comparing it with the one in Yuan Fei's hand, it was indeed different. Not to mention anything else, everything in the pirate world seems to be extremely hard. You should use this first. Although they are all steel pipes, they are better than the one in your hand. Yuan Fei took it, and after taking it, the steel pipe was indeed heavier. Thank you, Brother Ao. There are obstacles at the entrance of the building. As long as there are no zombies, it is still safe here. After you have a rest, go fight the zombies and awaken your domineering power as soon as possible. Then he said to Ao Chen, you are also practicing here. I will go to the Yellow River to have a look. It has been so long since the end of the world, and the running water has long stopped. There is no water source in the city, so the safety zone must be established near a river. The nearest river from here is Bianshui in the north. Moreover, in his previous life, Feng Kun led his migrant workers group to build a safe base on the bank of Bianshui River and continued to expand and recruit refugees. He is going to take a look now and find the water area that produces sea floor stones. Using sea floor stone as building material can make the base stronger. If you are in danger and run away, send me a message and I will come back as soon as possible. After giving his sister a few more words, he turned into a blue dragon and rose into the sky, heading towards the north of Bian City. After advancing to the Iron Bone realm, his physical strength became more abundant, and he could fly the distance from his home to Bianshui. Above the clouds, a green dragon soars. When he was about to leave the city, he also saw a magpie that had transformed into a corpse. In the apocalypse, it is not that there are no bird zombies, but very few. Because their feathers and flesh will fall off in the early stages. Without feathers, it cannot fly. After losing the ability to fly, no matter how fierce it will be easily killed. A flesh corpse must evolve to at least 1 star before it can return to the air. Of course, if the bird zombies can evolve to the end, they will still be very powerful. Their flying ability and speed make them the most dangerous killers. But the one in front of me is just a corpse. Ao Shin turned his roar into thunder, and the corpse magpie had its head crushed, fell from the sky, and hit a young man who was carefully hunting zombies on the head. He looked up in confusion, only to see a huge green dragon figure swimming in the clouds, and soon disappeared into the distance. It's Boss Qinglong. I don't know if Boss Qinglong can take me in. The young man clenched his fists and continued to deal with the zombies in front of him. Outside the North City, a green dragon fell from the clouds, transformed into a human form and came to the shore. This is the place where people in Biancheng used to like to barbecue. There are also some fishing boats on the river. However, it is precisely because of this gathering that zombies broke out on a large scale, and there are almost no humans left here. There were only a few zombies wandering around, and the zombies were attracted by the popularity of the city and slowly moved closer to the city. However, there are also people who ran outside the city in the last days and lingered here. In a small house, a thin man with a yellow face heard a noise and saw Ao Shin standing on the shore from the window. There was a fierce glint in his eyes. After escaping here in a hurry, he had already eaten all the food. He lived off the occasional carp he could catch from the river. But without fishing equipment, his results were limited. If you see a stranger arriving at this time, it is very likely that this person is bringing supplies. Even if there are no supplies, the man licked the corner of his mouth. People are also material themselves. Opening the door quietly, trying not to make any noise, the man felt secretly happy when he saw that the young man staring at the yellow river did not respond. Standing on tiptoes, he crept up behind Ao Shin. The man raised the axe in his hand and struck it down hard. Clang! There was a loud noise, and the man felt a huge backlash. The force of the shock was so strong that he sat down on the ground. Look at the axe in your hand, the blade is curled. It's like being chopped on steel. Ao Shin turned his head indifferently. He had naturally noticed the man's appearance. But with this coward who escaped from the city and didn't even get the qualification to practice domineering, how could he split his skin? The green dragon fruit strengthens the body, and the copper skin realm blesses the skin. Even if the weapon color hardening is not activated, his body cannot be cut open by this ordinary person's axe. You, what kind of monster are you? The man was shocked. Zombie. You are a zombie. All he could think of at this time were zombies with extremely hard bodies. Although, the body of the young man in front of him did not have the unique corpse spots of zombies. He reached out and grabbed the man's throat. Do you want to die or live? When the man saw him talking, he also realized that this man was not a zombie. He felt the iron-like palms on his neck and replied tremblingly, I want to live, I want to live. Brother, please spare me, I didn't mean it. Ao Shin's eyes are like the vertical pupils of a dragon. Stop talking nonsense. Go to the river and find a dark ore. If you can find it, I will let you live. The man was choked so hard that he couldn't breathe. No problem. I'll go find him right now. He didn't hear what he was looking for specifically, he just wanted Ao Shin to let go as soon as possible. Ao Shin let go and the man coughed and asked. There are many black stones. Are there any other characteristics? No. Ao Shin shook his head. It was precisely because sea tower stones were so common that it took a long time for anyone to realize that Blue Star also had sea tower stones. And began to use it to create weapons and fortifications. The man wanted to say something, but when he met Ao Shin's eyes filled with murderous intent, he swallowed all the words he wanted to say. When he came to the river, looking at the fast water, his legs felt a little weak. In previous years, many people died after being sucked into the whirlpool of the Yellow River. Can you really survive if you jump like this? But feeling the pressure behind him, he didn't dare to resist. At this moment, the three flesh corpses sensed the aura of strangers and rushed towards Ao Shin quickly. The man's face turned pale with fright, and even his lips were trembling. It's over, it's over. I'm going to be eaten by zombies. While hiding in the hut, he saw zombies eating people and evolving. It is also known that this kind of flesh corpse whose body is no longer rotting can attack more violently. We are so close now that we can't even run away. But a scene that shocked him even more appeared. This monster-like young man raised the steel whip in his hand, and in just 3 blows, he killed the 3 corpses. Brains splattered all over the ground, attracting more zombies to gather here. After easily killing 3 flesh corpses in seconds, Ao Shin gave the man a faint look. Aren't you going? Go immediately. The man shivered and did not dare to delay any longer. He gritted his teeth and jumped down. You may die in the fast river, but if you don't jump, you will die immediately. Ao Shin stood on the river bank. As he killed these 3 corpses, more and more zombies wandering into the city were attracted. They not only want to eat human flesh, but also want to evolve by devouring the bodies of their companions. A large group of zombies and corpses swarmed in. Ao Shin stood there, the steel whip rising and falling, and there were more and more headless corpses around him. Even if he was occasionally bitten by a zombie, these zombies would not be able to bite through his flesh, let alone infect him. He reached out with his left hand, grabbed the throat of the zombie biting his arm, and squeezed hard, breaking the zombie's neck. The head rolled down and the body fell down weakly. His domineering power is increasing every moment, and he can kill all these zombies instantly. The corpses piled up around him formed a hill. Ao Shin stepped out of the hill, otherwise he would be buried by the corpses. The suburbs were sparsely populated and there were not many zombies. Soon, he killed all the zombies that came towards him. I found a bucket, scooped out water from the river, and rinsed the steel whip. There were too many zombies with headshots, and a lot of brains were stained, which was really disgusting. After rinsing, he sprayed hot breath to dry the surface of the steel whip. Looking closely at it, this weapon obtained from Lezu Temple seems to be slightly different from before. The rust on its surface is gradually falling off, revealing its original color. Moreover, holding this steel whip in his hand every day, he felt that his domineering energy penetrated very quickly. It is even faster than the supremely sharp knife that I exchanged in my previous life. But he knew that the quality of this steel whip was not as good as the supreme sharp knife. But if it continues at this rate, the steel whip that has been deeply modified by Haki may become the quality of a supreme sharp knife. Perhaps this is the reason why it is listed as equipment in the personal information. Ao Shin murmured to himself and put it on his shoulder, feeling that the steel whip was a little heavier. Why are the weapons in the hands of a pre-apocalyptic god statue so magical? It was unclear. In his previous life, he had never heard of any strong man using a steel whip as a weapon. Everyone used weapons exchanged from the god-given space. Or, from the secret realm in the future. Or, when the second divine gift comes, get the Zanpakuto. This kind of mortal weapon has never appeared before. Staring at the river, what is different from the comics is that after the apocalypse, sea stones will appear in all rivers. Of course, the place with the most sea floor stones is deep in the sea. There are only lakes or pools without sea tower stones. Moreover, there seems to be some mysterious power in the lakes and pools. Even if the water with the sea floor stone factor flows into it, it will be purified. Now that the sea tower stone has just appeared, the sea tower stone factor in the river is not strong, so he can sneak in, but he can't touch the sea tower stone. As time goes on, rivers and seas will become forbidden areas for those with abilities. There was no movement in the turbid river. Just when Ao Shin thought that the man had died in the river, the man suddenly appeared again. In his hand, he was holding a small black stone. Big brother. He yelled and was about to go ashore when suddenly a black figure appeared in the river. Before the man could react, he was dragged in. There was only a pool of blood left on the river. The blood stains dispersed, and the small black stone sank into the river. Is it that guy? It turns out that it mutated from Bianshui River. Ao Shin stared at the river. This was the reason why he didn't enter the river by himself. Although the sea floor stone factor is not strong now, it will still make him weak. If I encounter that guy, I'm afraid I won't be able to do it. Ao Shin rubbed her chin and pondered on the shore. This big guy was swimming along the Yellow River. When passing through Luoshui, the strong man from Chengdu wanted to kill him, but he was almost dragged into the river. It has been causing trouble in the Yellow River for a long time, which has made all the forces that rely on the Yellow River to build security bases miserable. However, for the sake of water, all forces will still build bases on the shore, even if people die. Fortunately, there are not many powerful monsters in the Yellow River, and they do not always nest in one place, but roam throughout the entire river. They can only pray that they don't encounter this monster. Not only the Yellow River, Yangtze River, Huaihai River and other rivers, there are all kinds of monsters appearing. Some were beheaded, and some followed the river into the sea. Others make waves in the river and devour the creatures on the shore at any time. We have to find a way to kill this big guy. Ao Shin was thinking about the strategy, but there was no good solution for a while. In the previous life, and also in the later stages, those without abilities grew up and ignored Heilushi's restraint, so they could join forces to kill certain water monsters in the river. But now, those who are capable of fighting are capable people. It is not easy to enter the water and kill the water monster. Turning into a blue dragon and rising into the sky, he looked down and saw a huge figure vaguely visible in the waves. This monster is no smaller than me. A loud dragon roar came out, and the sound waves penetrated the water. Under the water, the monster heard the dragon's roar and felt that its majesty was violated. In the rippling water, its head broke through the water, and a pair of scarlet eyes stared at the green dragon in the clouds. The green dragon is twisting and turning, and a pair of dragon eyes are staring at it at the moment. The monster was nearly 100 meters long, and its black scales shone coldly in the sunlight. This is a giant python. The giant python's head and neck sticking out of the river are 20 meters long. Roar! The green dragon roared and swooped down. Not to be outdone, the giant python spit out snakes and bit it with its bloody mouth. Roar thunder! Amidst the roar of the dragon, a bolt of thunder erupted from the Qinglong's mouth. The bright lightning was extremely dazzling, and the huge thunder also shocked the giant python. But how fast is the speed of thunder and lightning? But in an instant, the thunder fell on the giant python's head. Powerful electric current flowed through the body of the giant python, and the hissing and contracting snake Shinzi also drooped weakly near its mouth. The electric current not only hit the python's head, but also fell on the river. Water can conduct electricity. A large area of the river was covered by the electric current. Many fish on the river were electrocuted and floated up with their bellies turned upside down. Hot breath. Another mouthful of flames spurted out. Although Qinglong can control the three elements of wind, fire and thunder, its power is not as good as the natural element. It can only be used as an auxiliary means of attack, such as wrapping elements around weapons to enhance attacks. This giant python was so huge, but he didn't know how hard the scales would be, and he didn't expect to be able to kill it directly with the thunder flames. The scorching flames surged down, and the giant python, which was stunned by the electric consciousness, could not react, and was sprayed with hot breath. The water vapor is evaporating due to the high temperature, clouds and mist are lingering on the river, and there is a hint of burnt smell. But Ao Shin was not happy. Because this burnt smell is just some scales being burnt. The python's flesh and blood were not harmed. Taking advantage of the time when the giant python was paralyzed by the electric current, he blew out a breath of bad wind again. Countless wind blades strangled and scraped the giant python's scales scorched by lightning and flames into pieces, and further cut into the flesh and blood of the giant python. At this time, the giant python that was paralyzed by the electric current also came back to its senses. Severe pain hit it, and it was furious. More bodies leave the water, and they want to drag the blue dragon in the air into the water. Still a fool, Ao Shin was overjoyed when he saw that the giant python didn't run away, but rushed up like crazy. His original plan was to drive away the giant python first and not affect his establishment of a base. I'll kill it later when I get the chance. Since this giant python won't escape, you can kill it directly. Qinglong dived and did not continue to use the elemental abilities of wind, fire and thunder. Those abilities were too consuming. The dragon's claws stretched out and grabbed the giant python's head. The dragon's claws were covered in armored colors, and the black claws shone with a cold light. The poisonous fangs from the python's mouth sprayed out a stream of venom, and the venom shot into Qinglong's eyes like a sharp arrow. Another hot breath, and the venom was burned away by the flames. The dragon's claws caught the giant python's mouth, but the python's fangs also bit on the dragon's claws. Roar! All the armed colors are concentrated on the dragon's claws to resist puncture by the fangs. With a cultivation level of Iron Bone Realm and powerful armed color, he could still feel the severe pain from his claws. Fortunately, it was not punctured, and the armed color still withstood the attack of the python's fangs. HMPH. Since you can't bite through my hand, it's me next. The sharp dragon claws pierced into the python's mouth. Even though its scales were as hard as those of the green dragon, the inside of the mouth was soft after all. 3 dragon claws pierced the python's chin, and the other 2 claws clasped the scales outside its chin. Give it to me! Ao Shin shouted loudly and pulled the nearly 100-meter-long giant python up from the river. The giant python's body kept turning around, trying to break free from the control of the dragon's claws. But Ao Shin's power was stronger than it, and it took it directly out of the water and flew upwards 100 meters. On the shore, there were still a few people hiding in cars or in some shops. They heard the roar of the dragon outside and saw the battle from the window. A huge green dragon grabbed a giant python out of the river. No matter how hard the giant python struggled, it could never escape Qinglong's control. These people were stunned. Someone immediately took the picture and uploaded it to the God-given space, and signed it as Battle of Dragon and Snake. A giant 100-meter python suddenly appeared in Bianshui River. We started an unprecedented battle with Qinglong. However, we lost to Qinglong and were captured by Qinglong. This video quickly received over 10 million likes. Countless people commented below. Qinglong, is he the rumored boss Qinglong? Oh my god, the 100-meter giant python. Those 3-star fur corpses that can easily destroy an army are probably no match for this giant python. I heard that boss Qinglong is from Bianchang. The author of this video said that it was filmed in Bianshui. It is very likely that boss Qinglong took action. That's too exaggerated. I have to be careful when killing an ordinary zombie now. Others have already started fighting monsters of this level. Hey, tell me, is that giant python also a person with some ability? For example, snake fruit, phantom beast species, and snake form. Someone had a whimsical idea and put forward a bold idea, which immediately received support from many netizens. I think it's very possible. The number of devil fruits appearing all over the world has already exceeded those in the comics. This is most likely a war between 2 bosses competing for dominance. Ao Shin pulled the giant python out of the river and dived towards the ground. The dragon's claws held down the python's head and slapped it hard on the ground. He opened his mouth and roared with thunder again, hitting the giant python in the abdomen. The giant python is writhing, extremely powerful. But its chin was pierced and hooked by the dragon's claws, and the only moves it could use were to wrap around it. However, Qinglong grabbed Yanyan in midair, and it was difficult for the python's body to wrap around his body. Another roar of thunder hit the python's head on the ground again. Ao Shin transformed back into the human animal form, grabbed the python's head with one hand, took the steel whip from behind with one hand, and stabbed it in along the gap in the python's chin. The top of the steel whip is rounded, but under his huge strength, it still penetrates the python head. The steel whip pierced the python's head and penetrated into the earth. Ao Shin used her dragon claws to grab the python's tail, pulled it straight back, and stepped on it with her feet. As a result, the python's head was pierced by the steel whip and stuck on the ground, and its tail was stepped on by his feet. It couldn't break free for a while. Ao Shin took advantage of this time to enter the God-given space and spent 10,000 points to exchange for a customized weapon. That's a good, sharp knife-level rope chain. Thread the rope through the wound on the python's jaw and wrap it around the boulder on the shore. With the strength of the giant python, it is not impossible to drag this huge boulder. But this pulls at the wound on the jaw, causing it to hurt terribly. Then he came to the tail of the giant python, pierced its tail with a steel whip, and inserted it into the earth. The head and tail are fixed, so no matter how powerful it is, it can't use it at all. Clapping his hands, Ao Shin released his human animal form. It's not easy to subdue this giant beast. This thing is like the Neptune type in the pirate world. After all, rivers are limited, and in the sea, those sea monsters are even bigger. He stuffed a zombie corpse into the mouth of a giant python. When it refused to eat, he stuffed it down its throat again. With its throat blocked, the giant python was extremely uncomfortable and had to swallow the zombie body. Its body was still twisting wildly, but every twist would affect the wounds on its head and tail, and the severe pain calmed it down for a while. But a pair of snake eyes refused to give in. Its scarlet eyes are staring at Ao Shin, and once it gets out of trouble, it will immediately attack. Using the water monster as a petri dish is the best solution. Ao Shin smiled at it. Brother Snake, stay here for now, there are zombies to eat every day. When I find someone to fish out the sea tower stone and build you a sea tower stone house, then you don't have to. You've suffered so much, just be my crystal beast. There is a 98% chance that ordinary creatures will transform into corpses after eating zombie meat. Certain group leader type creatures have a higher probability of success, but still less than 50%. However, as long as water monsters such as giant pythons are fed zombie meat, the probability of awakening crystals in their minds and becoming crystal beasts is infinitely close to 100%. But water monsters are extremely difficult to catch. Even in the previous life, there were not many people who could use water monsters as petri dishes. Now that the water monster has been subdued, Heilushi is basically certain to be nearby, and Fengkun's migrant workers can be mobilized to work. However, the distance from the west of the city to the bank of the Yellow River was not that far in the past. But in the end, it is like a chasm. Fengkun could still come over with his Tyrannosaurus Rex ability, but it would be difficult for others to come over. After notifying Meng Kui said that he would definitely arrive within one day. Then, he stayed next to the giant python and killed all the zombies that were attracted. The zombies were cleared away, and those lurking around dared to come out. They saw the battle between Qinglong and the giant python, and also saw Qinglong turning into a human. At this moment, I naturally knew that the fierce man in front of me was the rumored, big brother Qinglong. Brother, can you take me with you? I'm willing to pay. How long has it been? Is the money still useful? Brother, I am willing to pay for supplies. I also have some food. Can I exchange some points from you? So many zombies were killed, it's hard to imagine how many points Ao Shin has now. These people just used it to exchange for some, at least they exchanged the armed color domineering, so that they can have the capital to fight against zombies in the future. Ao Shin looked around and saw that there were quite a few people hiding here, more than 20 people. Most of them are strong men, and it is difficult for the young, old and women to survive in this environment. Does anyone know how to operate a sand dredger? Ao Shin saw several sand mining boats on the river not far away. Not only can they be used to collect sea floor stones from the bottom of the river, but the yellow river sand is also a building material. After hearing his question, someone immediately answered loudly, "Me. I used to mine sand ships." In fact, sand mining is not allowed in the entire Yellow River, but there are always people who do this kind of business without any capital. I will start work here in 2 days. You give me work and I will pay you points. These people include sand mining workers, restaurant owners, some who live nearby, and a few who ran away from the city and hid here. But to be able to carry it till now, my physical fitness is pretty good. No problem. We will definitely be there. They were overjoyed. After escaping outside the city, although there were fewer zombies, there were no supermarkets or shopping malls, so there were no supplies to obtain. Their supplies are basically exhausted. If they don't have points to survive, they will starve to death even if they are not bitten by zombies. I waved my hand and asked these people to leave. It was really a hindrance to keep them around. Ao Shin left a message for Ao Chen in the God-given space, saying that he would not be back for the next 2 days, so that they did not have to wait for him. The key is to worry about the python breaking free from the chains and escaping. Such a giant beast cannot be easily trapped. With nothing to do, he began to practice shaving among the 6 postures. He had experience in the previous life. After getting permission to practice, he quickly found the key points. After it got dark, he lay directly on the giant python and fell asleep. The zombies here have been basically cleaned up by him, and those who are farther away are more likely to be attracted by the popularity of the city and will not come outside the city. Even if zombies come over occasionally, his sense of sight remains passively activated, and he will wake up at the slightest sign of trouble. Moreover, ordinary zombies cannot bite through his tough skin despite his iron bone realm body. It's just that the giant python under him is not very honest and is always in its chrysalis, which makes him not sleep very peacefully. It wasn't until late in the night, perhaps because the python was tired from all the tossing, that it gradually gave up its struggle and fell asleep. In the morning, when the sun shines on your face, Ao Shin shook his sore neck. The python's slippery body made sleeping uncomfortable. I yawned and spent 3 points to redeem a Sanji version of paella, which I ate deliciously. This kind of rice does not have the effect of replenishing physical strength like meat and water, but the seafood used is the smallest type of sea king in the One Piece world, which contains extremely rich energy. Otherwise, with Ao Shin's current body, he might have to eat half a cow to be full. After he was full, he pulled over the corpse of the zombie he killed yesterday and stuffed it into the python's mouth. With the size of a giant python, a lot of zombie meat is needed to complete the crystallization. Chapter 51. The giant python didn't really want to eat the zombie meat. He could feel a strange energy rushing into his brain, which seemed to be stripping away its self-consciousness. These water monsters have developed spiritual intelligence. During the second divine gift period, some water monsters have become monsters similar to great demons. But Ao Shin forced these zombie corpses into the python's throat, and it could only swallow them unwillingly. As the giant python devoured more zombie meat, its scarlet eyes were gradually dimming. When the 100th zombie was stuffed in, its eyes lost their sparkle. A touch of dark green silk thread climbed up the python's blood-red eyes. The python's mutation was obviously different from that of the big mouse. Its already limp body suddenly bounced like an electric shock. Then, it jumped faster and faster. The rope that penetrated the snake's head and trapped it shook and creaked under its struggle. At the tail, the steel whip that was penetrated into the ground could be pulled out. Veery. Ao Shin slapped the python on the head, but this slap actually triggered the python's ferocity. Its red and green eyes suddenly opened, and its mouth, which could only hiss and spit out messages, also let out a deep roar like a beast. Ha! You dare to jump! Ao Shin transformed directly into a dragon. The sharp dragon claws were wrapped in armed domineering force and pressed the raised snake head to the ground. The other dragon claw lifted off the snake's scales and cut off its bones. The roar turned into thunder and lightning, flames and wind blades collided, and the wildly swinging python fell silent again. Returning to his human form, Ao Shin clearly felt that the python's power had increased a lot. The gray-green light in his eyes dimmed a bit, and the look he looked at was sometimes filled with hatred, and sometimes became confused. Ao Shin knew that at this moment, the giant python must have awakening crystals in his mind. But he doesn't plan to take it out directly, but to continue cultivating it. Such an excellent petri dish was not easy to obtain, so he had to try his best to grow it as large as possible. When the time comes, you can get more benefits when you kill the snake and get the crystal. In the evening, 5 large trucks drove over. A dozen strong men jumped down from above. The leader has a bandage on his shoulder. It was Feng Kun and his migrant workers' corps. Meng Kui jumped off the last car and came to Ao Shin. He stood upright and said loudly, "Report to the boss." All 99 members of the migrant workers group are in place. Ao Shin got off the python and looked around at these strong men. When I first met them, there were more than 100 of them. After just over a day, there were less than 100 left. In fact, when they first gathered, there were nearly 200 people, and the number continued to decrease due to constant fighting. When fighting zombies, any place injured by zombies will be infected. Therefore, once someone is injured, his companions will immediately kill him. When the migrant workers saw the 100-meter giant python sitting under Ao Shin's buttocks, their awe for him grew even more. At this time, it was not difficult to find a car, but Meng Kui was still somewhat capable of finding gas. Ao Shin pointed to the river bank behind him and said, "The water source stored in advance is about to be exhausted. If we want to continue to survive, fresh water is very important. Therefore, I plan to build a safe base here. You can plan it. Don't underestimate these migrant workers, thinking they can only do manual labor." In their hometown, in the countryside, their houses were built by themselves, starting from the design, brick by brick. If they want to build high-rise buildings, they cannot do it without the corresponding knowledge, but for building flat floor bases, these migrant workers are enough. Zhou Shang was about to step forward to speak, but was quietly pulled away by Feng Kun beside him. Feng Kun took a step forward and asked loudly, "Boss, what are the requirements for building a base?" Zhou Shang saw that Feng Kun had taken the lead in showing his face in front of the boss. Although he was unwilling to do so, he did not dare to say anything. I had to stand there quietly, always waiting for new opportunities to speak. Ao Shin said, "The main thing is to defend against zombies. Zombies will be attracted by popularity. When more people gather here, they will inevitably attack. Therefore, the most important thing is defense ability. Secondly, basic sanitation facilities such as sewage facilities and waste disposal must also be provided. Be careful not to discharge into the river. Third, pay attention to planning and be able to continuously expand outwards. For the rest, just follow the normal house layout." After saying this, Ao Shin pointed to the river again. Ordinary building materials are difficult to resist the attack of zombies. There are sea stones on the river bed here, and there are sand mining ships over there. You can find a way to mine the sea stones and mix them with steel and building materials, which can greatly enhance the base's defense. When they heard about Halu Stone, Feng Kun and others' eyes lit up. They had thought before that zombies could easily destroy reinforced concrete buildings. In the future, zombies will become stronger and stronger. Can this place really play a defensive role? Some of them are also thinking that with Halu Stone, will ordinary people like themselves have the capital to make a comeback against those with abilities? But now they only dare to think about these things, but don't dare to express them. Meng Kui, go and bring a few people to bring over all the building materials from the building materials factory, as well as some non-electrical equipment. Meng Kui took the order, and Ao Shin waved to him when he saw those people hiding nearby showing up again. Said to them, "If you want points, just join this team, food and accommodation are included, and you'll get an extra point a day." Then he said to the migrant workers, "You have it too, you get 3 points a day." Different treatment. The crowd immediately became commotion. Why do we have 2 points less than them? Yes, we are no worse than them. Why are we not treated as well as them? Ao Shin had already anticipated the dissatisfaction of the crowd. He pointed at Feng Kun. "Come out." Feng Kun was puzzled, but he still walked out obediently. "Boss, what's the matter?" Ao Shin looked at the crowd around him, pointed at Feng Kun and said, "Did you see him? No matter who of you can defeat him, I will give you 5 points a day. You're a bunch of cowards who don't even dare to fight zombies. Why, I can slap you to death." Ao Shin was furious, and these people did not dare to continue to complain. But seeing Feng Kun hanging an arm with a bandage, they felt that they were being underestimated. "Boss, are you telling the truth? Just defeat him." Ao Shin nodded and took a few steps back, leaving the venue to Feng Kun and the onlookers. Feng Kun was stunned for a few seconds, then showed a fierce look on his face. The boss said, "Whoever can beat me will get 5 points a day. Come on, you trash, come together. He threw the long knife in his hand on the ground and faced off against a group of people alone. What the hell are you so crazy about? How dare you look down on us with your arms hanging? A middle-aged man rushed forward first, trying to get a good job with 5 points a day. The middle-aged man was just an ordinary person. He attacked without any plan. He swung his fists randomly and was kicked several meters away by Feng Kun. It was quiet. The gap between the two sides is obvious. Feng Kun sneered. Come with me, my mother-in-law. Do you want to challenge me? I will lose wherever I move. He has the Tyrannosaurus Rex fruit, and even if he doesn't transform into a beast, his physique is not comparable to these people. Coupled with his year-round physical work, his physical condition is better. It was easier to kill zombies, which meant more points. He also redeemed the 3-color domineering practice method very early on. Although he has not awakened his haki yet, his physique has been further improved and he has already crushed those who dare not fight. He was very arrogant, otherwise he would not have dared to think of subduing 3 phantom beast species. If he hadn't been defeated by Ao Shin, how could he be willing to be a younger brother? The arrogant words made the crowd angry, and Feng Kun's ridicule continued. A bunch of weak chickens, have you ever killed zombies? Do you still want to be treated the same as us? Boss, giving you 1 point is superfluous. In my opinion, giving you food and drink is enough. You guys deserve to get 1 point. The jeers angered the crowd, and a young man who looked quite strong said angrily. Let me do it. I'm going to break his arm completely. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Kun was already in front of him and kicked him again. This man didn't even come on stage before he was kicked over. He hugged his stomach and screamed in pain on the ground. Entering the crowd, Feng Kun didn't give them another chance, using 1 arm and 2 legs as weapons, sweeping across all directions. Everyone was frightened by the beating. They felt that the person fighting them was not a human being, but a ferocious humanoid beast. Soon, the crowd fell down and fled. Feng Kun was the only one left on the scene. Ao Shin stopped his pursuit and said to the group of people. If you want points, come here. If you don't want to come to work, just come here. Everyone looked at each other, but they had to bow to life after all. A young man wearing a short vest came forward and whispered, Boss, I am willing to work. Ao Shin nodded and pointed to the side of the migrant workers group, go and stand there. As he spoke first, the rest of the people came one after another. Ao Shin said to Meng Kui, organize and register, these people will be under your command. Meng Kui agreed and started busy working. Without pen and paper, he asked everyone to add friends in their God-given space and recorded their names in an internal communication group. Feng Kun was asked to lead 10 people to collect building materials and equipment, and he assigned everyone a division of labor. There are those who know how to operate sand mining boats and drive the sand mining boats over, there are those who clean the river banks, and there are those who design base construction plans. He led a few people to fight the zombies that were gradually attracted, while supervising everyone's work. Ao Shin broke the python's bones so that it could not move, pulled out the steel whip from the python's tail, and looked up to the west. To the west is the provincial capital. It is also one of the most dangerous places for zombies in the country. As a city with a large population and thermal weapons, the zombies there have evolved to the point of 3-star hairy zombies. In fact, no one can say for sure whether there are 4-star martial corpses. Because no one dares to explore. More than one ability user in the provincial capital died, and the shadow on their lives was extremely huge. But these powerful zombies happen to be the targets of Ao Shin's training. He can instantly kill ordinary zombies with his bare hands, and even 1-star flesh corpses can be killed with a single strike of a steel whip. Even if it is a 2-star zombie, it is not difficult to kill him after he transforms into a dragon. This kind of crushing battle is better than nothing for practicing domineering. If he didn't still have the talent of domineering genius, he might have just awakened now and would only reach the copper skin realm at most. Therefore, the provincial capital is hell to others, but to him, it is a holy place for cultivation. After thinking about it, he returned to the giant python, touched its bones, and broke each bone to prevent it from suddenly breaking out and hurting people. After Meng Kui was told to stuff zombie corpses into the mouth of the giant python every day, he went to see the exchange group in Biancheng City for the first time. and said, I am Ao Shin, a user with the ability of the blue dragon fruit. If any zombies appear, please contact me at any time and I will deal with them. His speech silenced the entire group. After a while, the group suddenly exploded. Boss Qinglong. The boss shows up. Can the boss take care of me? I am willing to give birth to a monkey for the boss. Boss, how did you become so strong? Can you teach me your experience? A group of people flattered Ao Shin and even ignored Ao Shin's words to help them clean up the zombies. Finally, a comment drowned in a group of messages caught his attention. Boss, there is a zombie here in the Chengnan auto repair factory. It is so powerful that those big cars can't stop it, and many people died. I also want to run, but the zombie is outside and I dare not move. Although it is just words, there is a hint of crying between the lines. Ao Shin directly called her name, I'll be there soon. After saying that, he left the God-given space and turned into a green dragon and soared into the sky. Going straight from the north of the city to the south, his physical strength is enough for his current strength. After arriving near the auto repair shop, he had already seen the zombies raging everywhere from the sky. Wherever the zombies go, no one can stop them. Looking up to the southwest, there was a large group of people hiding in the chemical plant. The leader of his forces is named Zhang Heng. This can be considered a talent, but he has no time to pay attention to this person now. Falling from the sky, a roar of thunder struck out, hitting the zombie in the head. As the zombie roared angrily, a pair of dragon claws pierced the zombie's shoulders and took it off the ground. He flipped in the air and slammed the zombie head down onto the ground. As a result, a big hole was made in the hard concrete floor. Transformed from the green dragon form to the dragon man form, took off the steel whip from behind, and smashed the zombie's brains into pieces with a head-on blow. Not far away, on a residential building not far away, behind the window, a girl with twin ponytails saw a green dragon descending from the sky, easily killing zombies, with a look of admiration in her big eyes. Strong man, is this the strong man in the last days? She saw Qinglong flying into the sky and wanted to say hello to Ao Shin, but Ao Shin didn't see her at all and flew away to the west. The girl was a little depressed, but she quickly cheered up. I want to kill zombies too. Become a strong man like him. After Ao Shin killed the zombies, he headed west. When his physical strength was exhausted, he landed on a tall building, looked at the chaotic streets below, entered the God-given space, and left a place for his parents and sister in his family group. Made a statement. Then go and tell Meng Kui and Lu Xiao to pay attention to the new zombies appearing in Bian City. This is a good fighting opponent for the two of them. In the apocalypse, personal strength always comes first. His parents, Ao Chen, and Meng Kui were all busy at the moment and did not see his message. But Lu Xiao happened to be resting. Master, I understand. Then, she talked about those women. Today, a woman said that her period was more than a week late and she suspected that she was pregnant. She asked me what should I do, Master, can I let her give birth? Ao Shin said, if she wants to die, then live. Lu Xiao said, she doesn't want to give birth to the child of a man who stabbed her, but she doesn't know how to have an abortion now. Ao Shin lowered her head and suddenly thought of her father who went to the central hospital to get medical equipment, and said to her, look for my dad. There should be medicine in the hospital, or ask him to directly use the power of the surgical fruit to take out the fetus from the belly. In the early days of the end of the world, giving birth to a child is an act of seeking death. The mother's immunity decreases during pregnancy and after childbirth, and she is at risk of infection at any time. Moreover, if she cannot fight for a year, her strength will drop a lot. At that time, the zombies will probably have to upgrade to 2 stars. What can they do to protect themselves? Besides, if I am not strong enough, my child also lacks sufficient immunity to the virus, so the possibility of being transformed into a corpse at birth is extremely high. In the early days of the apocalypse, giving birth to a child is simply seeking death. I understand, Master. After some explanation, Lu Xiao expressed her understanding. Ao Shin added, use those women if you can, and give up if you can't. Don't let them drag you down. After recovering his physical strength, he left the God-given space. Transformed into a blue dragon again and ran towards the west. To the east of the provincial capital, this is a new district, and the original prosperity has disappeared at this moment. Zombies are active in every street, and there are countless flesh corpses. Even zombies can be seen from time to time. The most frightening thing is the corpse covered in red hair. Hairy zombies evolved from zombies. The viruses accumulated in the body were completely absorbed and gave birth to red hair. Not only does it have stronger strength and defense than the copper skin and iron bones of zombies, but it is also extremely flexible. In front of it, human steel and concrete are as fragile as paper. Its sharp nails can easily pierce the skin of an armored vehicle. Artillery fire and bullets hitting its body can only twist and deform it, but cannot damage it at all. To kill such a monster, you need to use nuclear-grade weapons. Ao Shin knew that in a month at most, America on the other side of the ocean would use nuclear weapons. Although it could kill zombies on a large scale, the final result would only make these monsters evolve again. Qinglong fell from the clouds. He turned into a human and squatted on a tall building. He exchanged a portion of Sanji-like seafood rice from the God-given space and chewed it while recovering his strength. This place is different from Bian City. A fierce battle awaits you, and you must restore your physical condition to its peak. Half an hour later, my physical strength returned to full strength. He transformed into a green dragon and swooped down again. When he was close to the ground, he turned into a human animal form. He took off the steel whip from behind and smashed it on the head of a zombie. Roar! The zombies roared, and the surrounding zombies immediately became violent. Countless zombies swarmed in and rushed towards Ao Shin. The dragon's claws were wrapped in armed domineering force and grabbed behind him, reaching into the chest of a zombie and crushing its heart. But the heart is not the vital point of zombies, they are still desperate to bite Ao Shin. The steel whip opened the arm of the zombie in front of him and hit it on the head again, completely shattering the head. The two-star zombies were no longer enough to look at in his second-level iron skeleton realm. The roar of the dragon spread to the sky, its tail swept across, and several ordinary zombies and flesh corpses were swept down. Those ordinary zombies were directly cut off from their waists. The steel whip is invincible, and with the help of knowledge and color, he avoids the bites of all zombies. As for zombies and flesh corpses, they can't break through his dragon scales at all. Another zombie had his head smashed, and more zombies gathered around him. The furry corpse covered with red hair also roared and rushed from a distance. It is like an agile red-haired monkey, with longer and sharper claws. The zombie's jumping ability was not lost on it, and it quickly reached behind Ao Shin while running and jumping. It is agile and fast. Once it jumps on its back, it will be a bite and devour package. Seeing the warning, Ao Shin smashed the shoulder of a zombie with a whip, jumped to the side, twisted off the head of a corpse with his left claw, and turned around with a roar of thunder. The thunder struck Mao Ji straight on the face, charring the red hair on his body like steel needles. The bad wind brought countless wind blades, and the electric scorched red hair was blown away, revealing its crimson flesh. Roar! The hairy corpse was still unconscious and was attacked one after another, making it furious. A pair of sharp claws attacked randomly, and several corpses and zombies were killed. The Ao Shin steel whip hit the zombie's head, breaking its skull and breaking the bones of several zombies at the same time. With a loud shout, he held a whip in both hands and struck the fur corpse head-on. Clang! Mao Ji used his arms to block, making a sound of gold and iron. Its arms were knocked down and its body took several steps back. However, a scarlet light flashed in his eyes, and the corpse opened its mouth, revealing its sharp teeth, and jumped up. Its legs were like springs, and it jumped so fast that it was like a phantom. Ao Shin's steel whip had just fallen, and now it was too late to come back for help. He stepped out dozens of times in succession, and the explosive reaction force made him avoid it sideways as if he was teleporting. It's the shaving of the 6 moves. Although I am not very proficient enough to use it continuously, it is still no problem to use it for emergencies in battle. Moon Step is a higher level application of shaving, which requires stepping on the air to generate reaction force to stay in the air or walk on the air. You need to be proficient in shaving before you can practice it. He quickly moved away and knocked away the surrounding zombies. He was also made of copper skin and iron bones. When he hit these zombies, their bones were broken and their tendons were broken, and they fell to the ground. He shook his arm, and the reaction force of the hit on Maoji's arm was quite large. A deep roar came from the hairy corpse's throat, and the surrounding zombies pounced on him again. They are not afraid of death, and they don't know what fear is. Therefore, even if Ao Shin can easily kill these zombies and corpses in seconds, he cannot clear the field with Overlord color. But it doesn't matter, he is here to engage in the most extreme battle to exercise his domineering power. The power of the armed color and the wisdom color were fully activated, and he once again regained the feeling of fighting in life and death in his previous life. One furry corpse, 4 zombies, countless flesh corpses and zombies. It is really possible for me to die here. But this is the situation he wants. If he doesn't face death, how can he break through himself? The dragon's roar echoed through the sky again, and the domineering energy in his body flowed up to his muscles and veins. The steel whip struck down, smashing the skull of a flesh corpse in front of him. The moment the brains splashed out, the furry corpse behind the fleshy corpse also rushed forward. The body of a hairy corpse is dyed with omen, and if you come in contact with it, even if you are not infected, you will suffer bad luck. Only extremely powerful blood energy can resist the ominous situation. Heading forward, he suddenly felt a cramp in his left leg, causing him to stumble and almost scratch his cheek. It was an ominous shroud, coming on gradually. The dragon roared in waves, and electric current flowed through the body. The blood energy rushed open the left hamstring joint, and the domineering energy further flowed into the limbs and bones driven by the blood energy. With a loud roar, there was a faint black energy dissipating from the body. That was the ominous being washed away. The steel whip came down and hit Maoji's arm again. Its arm was like a diamond. It was hit twice in succession, but no bones were broken. This time, it blocked the steel whip with one arm and grabbed Ao Shin's chest with the other arm. The dragon's claws resisted the sharp claws of the furry corpse, and the two sides struggled. A zombie came from behind, and Ao Shin whipped it with the dragon's tail. The zombies whipped by the dragon tail kept retreating, but it was still impossible to kill the zombies with the dragon tail. Another roar of thunder was sprayed on Maoji's face. With the distance between the two sides, Maoji didn't even have a chance to dodge. An ominous aura that is difficult to see with the naked eye erodes Ao Shin, and the flow of energy and blood in the body slows down a bit. Fortunately, the corpse has no intelligence, so the unknown can only be passively emitted. If it continues to evolve, it can control this energy and cause greater harm to living things. Under such a stalemate, he suddenly let go and stepped on the ground. Shave. He arrived behind Mao's corpse in an instant and knocked over several zombies. The hairy corpse leaned forward due to imbalance, and was hit hard by the steel whip on the back. Maoji was hit by gravity and staggered again. Ao Shin behind him would not miss such a good opportunity. The steel whip was struck one after another, and many of the red hairs on its back were broken off, revealing its bloody back. The furry zombie roared, lunged forward, grabbed a zombie and started biting it. Then, the wounds on his back healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shave. Once again, he came to the side of the hairy corpse in an instant, and the steel whip hit its head. After entering a state of concentrated fighting, Ao Shin's understanding of the shaving style in the previous life is quickly integrated into the body of this life. I am becoming more and more proficient in using it. The head of the hairy corpse was hit hard on the biting zombie flesh, and the whole face penetrated through the corpse. But his bones were extremely hard, and even after being whipped like this, there were no cracks. Drink. The armed color covered the steel whip, and Ao Shin smashed it down again. The howling wind showed the strength of this move. Maoji raised the zombie corpse in his hand above his head, and at the same time resisted the steel whip with his palm. Click. The zombie corpses were beaten to pieces, and the fingers of the zombies were also broken. When Maoji raised his head and confronted Ao Shin head-on, Ao Shin used his shaver again to get behind Mao corpse. The steel whip fell again, and this time, there was a slight sound of bone cracking. Maoji wanted to turn around and fight, but Ao Shin grabbed his neck with the dragon claw of his left hand and knocked him to the ground. The steel whip in his right hand fell down again and again, and Maoji struggled. He stepped on Maoji's back with his left foot, and the tyrannical force suppressed Maoji and made him unable to move. The dragon's tail swings to repel nearby zombies. Finally, after dozens of consecutive hits, Maoji's head was completely smashed. Brains flowed out, and corpse blood splattered. It finally stopped twitching and became a corpse. Behind him, zombies were still biting him, and some zombies were jumping on Mauji's body, trying to devour Mauji's body. Although the furry corpse is dead, the strong zombie virus in its body is still there, which is a great tonic for other zombies and a good thing that can promote their evolution. But Ao Shin can't let them evolve now. After this battle, he doesn't have much physical strength left. If another furry corpse appears, he won't be able to bear it. A steel whip struck vertically and horizontally, and the tyrannical force broke the bones of zombies one after another, making them unable to stand up again. The domineering energy flowed into his flesh and blood, and his strength increased a bit. The muscles bulged, and the dragon scales shone with a cyan luster. A zombie jumped over, and his head was smashed with a whip. These monsters that used to take several hits to kill are now things that can be killed instantly. My feet hit the ground continuously from time to time, and I became more and more proficient in shaving. On the street, a green dragon man flashed among the zombies. Every time he appeared, a zombie had his head smashed. He was killing like crazy, and finally, the whole street fell silent. After releasing the fruit's ability, his chest rose and fell violently. The blood and brains of zombies are inevitably splashed on his body. If he is just an ordinary person, these blood stains alone can infect him into a zombie. But his body is strong and he is already immune to this level of zombie virus. Pushing open the door of a store, this is a furniture city, walked in and sat on a torn sofa, holding the steel whip at hand. In this battle, one furry corpse, 7 zombies, hundreds of flesh corpses, and thousands of zombies were killed. For 2 whole hours, my body never stopped. But the growth of domineering is also amazing. He could feel the domineering fusion of his flesh and blood, and his strength was much greater than before. Entering the God-given space, he now has another 20,000 points. It was mainly the furry corpse that contributed the most. A 3-star hairy corpse can earn 1,000 points. If he kills it with the second level Iron Bone Realm and surpasses the first level, the points will be doubled 10 times, which is 10,000 points. I spent 10 points to redeem a Neptune meat skewer, took it out and ate it. The delicacy of the Neptune species was something he had never experienced before. And it contained enough energy to satisfy his hungry body. I burped after eating. The God-given space does not provide drinking water, but there is some wine in the food, which can provide additional effects. For example, accelerating blood flow can make people more sensitive during combat. For example, if you drink it to get a short-term violent effect, your overall strength will be improved to a certain extent, but it will consume additional energy and you will enter a weak state after the violent rage ends. Etc. Ao Shin exchanged a bottle of the cheapest wine. Its effect is to protect against severe cold. After drinking this bottle of wine, even ordinary people can move around freely in 0-degree weather, shirtless. Although accelerating blood flow also has a certain anti-cold effect, it is not as effective as direct anti-cold effects. But Ao Shin's purpose is just to quench his thirst. Moreover, with his current physical fitness, he is no longer afraid of the severe cold. After drinking the drink, the feeling of being choked finally disappeared. Sitting on the couch, recalling what it felt like to use shaving during combat. After a few more battles of this scale, he will be able to fully master shaving. As long as his energy is not exhausted, he can use shave at any time without waiting. Outside the door, a few zombies from a distance had been attracted, and they hungrily gnawed on the zombie corpses in the ground. Viruses enter the body and are rapidly transforming and strengthening them. Ao Shin watched this scene quietly. Just by devouring corpses, he did not evolve quickly. It would take a long time for these ordinary zombies to evolve to the level of furry corpses. Using the method of returning life, he tried his best to capture the energy from the Neptune flesh he swallowed, and quickly spread this energy throughout his body. Not only can it quickly restore physical strength and recover from injuries, but it can also enhance physical strength. Then, all the remaining items of the 6 styles were exchanged, including the iron blocks. Although every CP person died from iron, that was because of the protagonist's halo. In the early days when there was no domineering power, the defensive power of the iron block was obvious to all. Can we say that the rustling fruit and the thundering fruit are useless just because Luffy, who doesn't even have second gear, defeated Laosha and Enel? The advanced state of the iron block can be moved, and combined with the armed color domineering, it will greatly enhance one's defense in certain battles that cannot be avoided. Each of the 6 basic skills requires only 1,000 points, but its extended skills require 10,000 points. He started to practice the 6 postures in the shop. He had practiced these skills in his previous life and knew the techniques and tricks. Outside the door, the gathering of zombies is still increasing, and they are devouring zombie corpses on the ground. Ao Xin practiced for 2 hours, and after getting some feeling, she went out to fight these zombies. In order to practice the 6 postures faster, he even put the steel whip on the sofa in the store without taking it with him. Instead, try to use your untrained finger guns and lanky to attack. Paper painting looks similar to seeing and hearing color, but it is actually different. The ability to see and hear is to see an attack outside the field of vision and then dodge it. But paper painting uses the flow of air to allow the body to automatically avoid it. To put it simply, avoiding sight, hearing, and color requires the brain, while paper painting is completely automatic. Try to feel the flow of air and let your body respond instinctively to the air. If you really can't avoid it, turn on the immature iron block. With an iron bone realm body, even if you are just learning all the skills, you don't have to worry about being hurt by zombies. More and more zombies are gathering. When his physical strength is about to be exhausted, he will turn on his dragon transformation and kill all these ordinary zombies instantly. Then go back to the store and rest. Exchange it for Neptune-type barbecue, and then use life to return it to quickly digest it. This is much safer and faster than the recovery ability of water and meat. After resting for a while, zombies gathered outside again, and he continued to go out and practice the 6 postures with them. At night, after killing the last zombie, he blocked the door with furniture from the furniture city, found a large bed that was still in good condition, and lay down to sleep. The next morning, I woke up in the morning light. After eating a large piece of Neptune barbecue, I got up and moved the furniture at the door of the furniture mall. Just as he moved away, a zombie that was lying on the ground eating zombie meat jumped up with a cry and rushed towards him. Iron. Instead of turning on the dragon transformation, he activated the iron block. To be on the safe side, he added a layer of armed domineering energy to defend against the claws of zombies. Clang. It's like the sound of gold and iron. Ao Xin is overjoyed. The iron block has achieved initial results. He is already a man of steel and has experience in his previous life, so he can practice iron very quickly. Of course, the most important thing is to strengthen the body through life return, otherwise, it will take a long time to practice. He stretched out his index finger and pointed out instantly, point gun. The index finger touched the zombie's chest, and sharp pain came from the finger, but it did not penetrate the zombie's chest. Finger strength and the tenacity of finger bones still need to continue to be exercised. He retracted his fingers, shook his hand, hardened his weapon color, and then fired his finger gun. The finger no longer hurts, but it still hasn't penetrated the zombie's flesh. This move requires years of training of the 10 fingers, coupled with special force techniques and speed, to reach the point where the fingers are like guns. Even after practicing to perfection, you can directly hit the air with your fingers and shoot out air bullets like the storm kick. Like the 6 Meridians divine sword. That really means guns. In order to strengthen the strength of his fingers faster, he reduced the hardening of the armament color on his fingers. Although he felt severe pain every time he poked it out, it was still within the tolerable range. Under his feet, with the experience of shaving, he kicked very fast, but it was still not enough. The storm kick requires a super fast and extremely powerful kicking technique to roll up the air to produce a slash. His current kicking speed is not up to this level. But although he can't kick the storm kick, his extremely fast kicking speed can still break the bones of the flesh corpse. After one night of catalysis, although a flesh corpse evolved into a zombie, there was no hair corpse yet, so he used them to practice the 6 styles. He didn't use dragon transformation or steel whip, and even tried to reduce the use of armament color as much as possible. His body was getting stronger rapidly. Finally, when the pain in his body could no longer be tolerated, he kicked the zombie away and flew to the rooftop in dragon form. Exchanged for Sea King barbecue, and his consciousness penetrated between his fingers and flesh. Life return was activated, and the swelling in these painful places was quickly reduced. Instead, it was more sturdy and tough. After a short rest, he jumped down from the rooftop and started fighting again. In this way, he fought here for 3 whole days. Because of the lack of attack power, the zombie has not been killed. In fact, in the past few days, 3 more flesh corpses have evolved into zombies. Although he has made great progress, the enemies he faces are also stronger. Domineering is an extension of physical strength. Although he does not use domineering, the strengthening of his physique also improves with domineering. He can feel that his strength has at least doubled compared to when he first came here. Drink. With a loud shout, the index finger poked out, and immediately broke the chest of the zombie in front of him and cut off its sternum. The finger gun has also been initially practiced. If combined with the dragon claw after the dragon transformation, the power of the finger gun will be even stronger. Shave. He teleported behind another zombie and kicked out. The air was kicked out with a sonic boom, but there was still no air blade to cut. He kicked the zombie down with 1 foot and pierced through the back of its head with a finger gun. But it was not enough. The finger gun continued to stab and completely destroyed its head. A powerful attack came around him, and the accompanying airflow became more violent. He had already sensed this attack with his observation hockey, but there were zombies all around him and he had nowhere to hide. But his body twisted strangely, and his flexibility was like a big snake. It was paper painting. He jumped up, his muscles instantly swelled and hardened. He did not use the armed hockey, and simply used his body to withstand the attack of a zombie behind him. He removed the iron block, turned around and kicked out, kicking the bodies of 3 zombies, and stabbed the 10 fingers of both hands at the same time into the head of the zombie behind him, and then his hands became claws and tore outwards, and the zombie's head was broken in the middle by him. He was like a killing god, killing these zombies with his bare hands. In the distance, people hiding in the building were stunned by this scene. Without using the power of the fruit, or even weapons, he only relied on his body to kill zombies like slaughtering dogs. Is this the legendary Qinglong boss? They say he is so strong because of the fruit, but it turns out that he is still so strong without the fruit. In the communication area of the God-given space, a video made the headlines. In the video, a young man's body turns into yellow sand, and all zombies that come into contact with the sand are instantly decomposed. The yellow sand condensed into a sword, and the fleshy corpse with a hard body and flexible movements was easily beheaded. The most eye-catching thing is his battle with a zombie. The zombies are invincible, with their copper-skinned and iron-skinned bodies possessing strange strength. Even tanks can be easily torn apart by them. However, this young man was engaged in a fierce battle with zombies. Although he was at a disadvantage, he performed with ease. Finally, after fighting for 2 hours, the zombie was finally killed by the young man thanks to his elemental ability to be immune to attack. The sha-sha fruit. It's crocodile's sha-sha fruit. That young man is so strong. I have seen zombies, and they are not something humans can fight against. He relies on more than just devil fruit. He must have awakened his hockey, and his strength is not low. Wow, the boss is so handsome. It's so happy to be in the same city with this boss. The sound of praise filled the bottom of the video. In a border town in Bingzhou, Li Wei was drinking juice and watching videos in a basement. Seeing that he was being worshipped by everyone, he happily posted a post. Li Wei, the owner of the sha-sha fruit, is in Bingzhou and is now recruiting people. If you are interested, please sign up with me. The video was so clear that he naturally asked his subordinates to take it in order to increase his popularity and recruit people. With the ability of the natural system, if there are other people with abilities who want to join him, even if they are not in the same city as him, he has the ability to bring that person over. Just as he was enjoying himself, he suddenly found that his video was pushed down by another video. Moreover, the number of views and likes is rising like crazy. Who can overshadow me? Isn't it that beautiful anchor again? Speaking of which, that little beauty is so cool. What kind of fruit is it? She seems to have introduced it herself. Oh, by the way, it's the animal type, the flower fruit, the fantasy beast type, and the flower fairy form. Gone. Are your flowers animals? They might as well be classified into renren fruits. Otherwise, we can open another plant department. While muttering to himself, Li Wei clicked on the video of pushing himself down. In the video, a man among the zombies killed 4 zombies and a large group of flesh and zombies with just his fists and kicks. What kind of monster is this? Are you sure it's not synthetic? Brother, the God-given space does not have a video synthesis function. By the way, what does the title say? This is the Qinglong boss that was revealed before. What's going on? He didn't even use the fruit ability. If he used the fruit ability, wouldn't these zombies be killed instantly? That's right, my brother Wei killed 1 zombie at full strength. Do you think this person killed 4 with his bare hands? Or was he surrounded by a group of zombies? Li Wei didn't pay attention to the comments below. Although the video shooter stood far away and very high, he could still tell at a glance that it was Ao Shin. Hey, be a good boy. Is this guy already so strong? It's only been a few days. This guy is cheating. Besides, isn't he from Biancheng? Why go to the provincial capital of Yuzhou? There aren't enough zombies in Biancheng for him to kill. Find Ao Shin's friend and send a message. Are you there? At this moment, Ao Shin had just finished the battle, exchanged his points for several large bottles of spirits, and washed himself from top to bottom. Fighting with bare hands is more likely to be stained with blood. The zombie blood smelled very disgusting, especially the brains, which made his eyes hurt. Anyway, he had a lot of points, so he didn't care. After washing it with strong alcohol, he felt much refreshed. After putting on clothes and entering the God-given space, I saw Li Hui's message. Be concise and to the point. Li Wei, meow, when I get better than this guy, I will definitely catch him and beat him up. But now, thinking about Ao Shin killing zombies easily and comfortably with his bare hands, even though he was in Bingzhou, he couldn't help but shrink his neck and murmured, this guy is really a pervert. I got another devil fruit, do you want it? Ao Shin was surprised, this guy is so lucky. After all, Li Wei got 3 devil fruits by himself. Sure enough, strong people are always accompanied by great luck. Make an offer. Don't bother talking nonsense with him, just get to the point. Li Wei said, 10 million points. The corners of Ao Shin's mouth twitched. You're thinking shit. Then, 1 million. Li Wei gave a generous discount. 10 million, if it was a fantasy beast species, would have been a reasonable price in the previous life. For the natural type, the price is probably between 1 million and 5 million. Some powerful superhumans can also be sold for 5 million. However, there is a high probability that the one in Li Hui's hand is just an ordinary species of animal type. This kind of fruit is not worth 1 million points. You should have appraised it. If it is a very strong fruit, I believe you will not be willing to sell it to me. Tell me what your ability is and offer a sincere price, otherwise there is no need to talk. Ao Shin knows the price of devil fruit far better than Li Wei does. Even in the early days of the end of the world, because points were difficult to obtain, he could lower the price. Li Wei is so eager to sell it because he must want more points to exchange for combat skills or good weapons. Otherwise, even if it is just an ordinary animal type, it is still a rare treasure. If he doesn't need it himself, he can keep it for his henchmen. Li Wei sighed. A strong person like Ao Shin is really not easy to fool. He has indeed identified it, but it is not an ordinary species, but an ancient species. Although the strength of your subordinates is important, your own improvement is the key. He wants to exchange points for a rapid improvement in his strength. But in a short period of time, only Ao Shin has the purchasing power. It's not an ordinary species, it's an ancient species. Li Hui's words surprised Ao Shin. Is this guy an illegitimate child of God? The bonus of ancient species to the body is usually much greater than that of ordinary species. Chongchong fruit ancient species lipfly form. Li Wei reported the name of the fruit. The butterfly fly was similar to modern butterflies and became extinct in the late Cretaceous. According to Li Hui's idea, what kind of fighting power can a butterfly, even a butterfly species from ancient times, have? Apart from being able to fly, he could not think of any other benefits of this fruit. This is the important reason why he plans to sell. Bet now Ao Shin doesn't understand. If Ao Shin thinks the ancient species is very strong, he can sell it at a high price. It's a pity that Ao Shin knows very well. He understands better than Li Wei that butterflies are more than just beautiful vases. But he would not explain it to Li Wei. What else can a butterfly do besides flying? For the sake of ancient species, 50,000 points. Li Wei looked ugly. 50,000 is too little, this is an ancient species, 800,000. I'll give you a little more, don't be ignorant, 80,000. I'll take a step back. If you don't want me, I'll give it to my subordinates. 700,000. In the end, with Li Wei looking heartbroken, the two settled the deal with 500,000 points. 500,000 is a bargain for you. Li Wei sighed, but he was secretly happy in his heart. His original bottom line was 300,000 points. It seems that Ao Shin has not always been so smart. Ao Shin was also delighted. Generally speaking, ancient species are traded for between 800,000 and 3 million. Li Ji's ability is not bad, and it is worth at least 1.5 million. If Li Wei didn't understand, he wouldn't have been able to get it at such a low price. Within a year, I will find you to trade. Ao Shin promised that he does not have so many points now. Moreover, he is in Yuzhou and Li Wei is in Bingzhou. The distance is long and it is not convenient for transactions. But he is confident that within 1 year, he will not only get far more than 500,000 points. It can even strengthen your strength to the point that even if you fly directly to Bingzhou in the form of a blue dragon, you won't feel tired. A deal was settled, and the two chatted for a while. I learned that Li Wei was recruiting people to build a safe base on the bank of the Yellow River. He also kindly reminded me to be careful of the water monster in the river. Already met. Li Wei sighed. The Yellow River water monster is not just the black-scaled python. That's just the most powerful one. Other water monsters also caused great harm to everyone on the shore. When Li Wei was exploring the river bank, he encountered a water monster and almost died. How did you become so strong? Do you have any experience you can teach me? Ao Shin smiled and said, live to die. Li Wei. You know this guy didn't hold his shit in well, he must be trying to trick me. Living towards death in the last days. What a joke. Maybe it will be reopened. I won't bullshit you anymore, 3 zombies are coming for me, I'm going to take care of you. Ao Shin said, if you kill a zombie, don't you just have hands? Li Wei no longer wanted to reply. The 3 large iron gates he built were easily destroyed by the zombies. The elements flew directly over the zombies' heads and fled in the other direction. After Ao Shin asked about her parents and sister in the family group, she picked up the steel whip and continued westward. Bianchang, on the bank of the Yellow River. Meng Kui asked a migrant worker to drive a sand mining boat into the place designated by Ao Shin. Then, ask who dares to enter the water. Everyone looked at each other. In the past years, many people died in the whirlpool of the Yellow River. Moreover, since there are monsters like giant pythons in the Yellow River, there may be other water monsters. Go into the water before your own strength comes up. That is simply courting death. Meng Kui looked at Zhou Shang, who was always the most active, but Zhou Shang quickly lowered his head and quietly took a step back. Others also watched with their eyes, nose and nose, but did not dare to speak. After scanning around, no one was willing to recommend themselves. Just when Meng Kui was about to forcefully appoint someone, Feng Kun suddenly stood up, I'll do it. Their strength is not as good as mine, and I have a greater chance of going into the water to save my life. Meng Kui looked him up and down in surprise, as if it was the first day he met him. The boss said that there is a sea tower stone in the river bed. Although the sea tower stone has not been around for a long time, it can still affect the body of the ability user. After you enter the water, you may not be able to show much of your strength. Besides, your injuries haven't healed yet. Feng Kun still has the penetrating injury on his shoulder caused by Ao Shin. How could such an injury be easily healed? Feng Kun glanced at the wound on his shoulder and gritted his teeth. When he was about to say something, a young man standing at the end of the team took the initiative to stand up. Let me do it, I'm good at water. He looks so ordinary, 1.7 meters tall, slightly thin, and unremarkable in appearance. He is the type that you can't see if you throw him into a crowd. His appearance surprised the entire migrant workers group. Including Feng Kun, he couldn't even remember this young man's name. May I have your name? Meng Kui did not expect that anyone would dare to take the initiative to undertake such a near-death mission, and he looked at this young man with admiration. My name is Zhang Dao. Zhang Dao's voice was a little dull, and except for answering questions, he didn't say a word of unnecessary nonsense. Zhang Dao, Isn't he a stuffy guy? Why did he suddenly become brave today? The migrant workers whispered. What kind of bravery are you looking for, Death? Jump into the Yellow River. The water in this place is so fast. Not to mention that there may be water monsters in it now. Even in the past, you couldn't jump. This kid used to be very bored. There were so many women in the villa, and he didn't even want to do anything with her. He wouldn't flatter her when it was time to flatter her. Now he's really a fool to show off his strength. Quiet, Mang Kui shouted, and the noisy discussion stopped immediately. This is the majesty he has shown in leading the team in the past few days. He nodded to Zhang Dao. If you can come out alive, I will reward you with 100 points. Although Zhang Dao tried to look calm, anyone could see the excitement on his face. 100 points, this is too important to them. When he came to the boat, he tied a rope to his body and carried an iron chain. They also found a pair of diving equipment on the boat, and there was still 1/3 of the oxygen in the oxygen bottle. After dressing Zhang Dao, he jumped from the boat into the river. There is too much sediment in the Yellow River and the water is turbid. It is not easy to find something here. On the shore, the giant python whose bones were broken by Ao Shin moved from time to time. Even if it was subdued, no one dared to touch it. Time passed by minute by minute. Many people already believed that Zhang Dao died in the river, but Meng Kui still kept his eyes on the river. Finally, Zhang Dao emerged from the river. Before everyone could breathe a sigh of relief, they saw a huge shadow emerging from under him. Careful, even if these workers usually have an average relationship with Zhang Dao, they are very worried when they see the danger approaching. Meng Kui directly entered the human-animal form, grabbed the rope that tied Zhang Dao and lifted it up violently. Zhang Dao exclaimed and was lifted into the air. The moment he was lifted out of the water, a 5-meter-long fish jumped out from the water and bit into Zhang Dao with its bloody mouth. Evil beast! Meng Kui was furious, and while pulling Zhang Dao towards him in midair, he raised his long sword and swung out a netherworld slash. The power of the netherworld condensed into a crescent moon, splitting the big fish vertically from the middle. The fish body that was broken in half fell onto the river, dyeing the river water scarlet red. Zhang Dao landed on the boat and was surprised to find a big fish behind him. In shock, his legs weakened and he almost fell. But seeing the big fish being instantly killed by Meng Kui, he was relieved. What a risk, I was almost killed in Yuko. Brother Meng, I found a stone that may be the Halu stone, and I have wrapped it with a rope chain. Meng Kui praised. Well done, I'll transfer points to you right now. When 100 points arrived, Zhang Dao's body trembled with excitement. Meng Kui's grabbed the chain and pulled hard. No pull. Feng Kun, let's help. It was difficult to exert force on the sand mining boat, so the two jumped onto the shore holding the chain. They both transformed into beast shapes, picked up the chain and dragged it to the shore with all their strength. The sea floor stone is extremely hard, how can it be broken by the human power at this moment? But Halu stone evolved from ordinary rocks in the river bed. Although sea floor stone is hard, the rock is not particularly hard. With the joint efforts of Zonin and Tyrannosaurus rex, the connection between the sea floor stone and the ordinary rock broke, and a large piece of sea floor stone was pulled ashore by them. The dark stone reflects light and is as beautiful as obsidian. It is extremely dense and extremely heavy. After pulling this large piece of sea rock ashore, both Meng Kui and Feng Kun were panting. The next question is how to divide and utilize it. Processing sea floor stone is a sophisticated technology. At the same time, it is also listed for sale in the God-given space. Halu stone processing method, the price is 100,000 points. Naturally, Meng Kui didn't have so many points, so he could only ask Ao Shin for help. At this moment, Ao Shin was fighting zombies on the road. It was not until evening when he entered a bar to rest that he saw Meng Kui's message. You don't need to worry about the points. Go and bring over all the building materials in Bian City, as well as the equipment from the water plant, and bring over all the equipment that can be used. The concentration of zombie viruses in the river is similar to that in the air, so there is no need to worry too much. However, there is too much sediment in the Yellow River and the water source needs to be purified. In addition, the river is mixed with sea floor stone factors. If we drink it directly, it will be like poison to those of us with abilities. Remember to distill it first. Distillation can remove the seafloor stone factor in the water quality. With these words, Ao Shin told everyone around him that the fresh water reserve at home was about to be exhausted. After Meng Kui and his team's construction by the Yellow River begins to take shape, they will have their families move there. These common senses in previous lives are also experiences summed up with countless blood and tears. After exiting the God-given space, he looked around in this bar. All the drinks on the counter had been taken away or smashed. The broken tables, chairs and blood stains indicate that a very tragic battle broke out here. A smoky bar is a place where zombies are prone to break out. He was groping in the dark, without light, and could only rely on his ability to see, hear, and see colors to move forward. The strengthening of his physical body also enhanced his vision a lot. When his eyes finally adapted to the darkness, he could roughly see the outline of objects in front of him. There is a basement, why is it still locked from the inside? He touched a door lock and broke it with a little force. What he saw was a staircase leading down. Holding the steel whip in one hand, he slowly walked down the stairs. Suddenly, from what he saw, he sensed movement underground, and the steel whip was instantly struck down. A scream rang out, and a wisp of fire came out of his mouth, slightly illuminating the dark underground space. He saw a disheveled girl squatting in the corner in front of him. Looking down at the ground, he saw a young man whose skull was smashed by his whip. The two men were described as thin, and it was unknown how long they had been in the basement. They had been in the dark for so long that they could barely see through the darkness. Seeing the man being smashed to death by Ao Shin, the girl kept shrinking back in horror, but there was a wall behind her, so where could she escape? Don't kill me, don't kill me. Ao Shin looked at her with a frown. Her cheeks were sunken and skinny, which was a sign of long-term starvation. Another wisp of fire came out of his mouth. It had to be said that in terms of lighting, Qinglong was not as good as burning the fruit. The corner of his eye scanned the ground. There were some corpses on the ground, and there were some bite marks on the corpses. Ao Shin's complexion changed drastically, and he raised the steel whip to block in front of him. Clang! Loud noises echoed through the basement. He quickly turned around and saw that the frightened girl curled up on the ground was gone. John Wen sensed a strange movement beside him, but the attacker was very fast and the space was small, so he had nowhere to dodge for a while. Paper painting. The waist was unscientifically sunk inward, avoiding the fist that made a strong sound. At the same time, a fist wrapped in armed colors blasted out, knocking a figure flying backwards. The steel whip fell down, a clear cracking sound was heard, and the figure in front of him disappeared again. The darkness was unkind to him. He could only fight based on what he saw and heard. If it weren't for the passive force of the paper painting, he would have been hit several times by now. Of course, with his current strength, even if he was hit by that thing, he wouldn't be seriously injured. The enemy is in the dark and we are in the light. He stood quietly in the basement, using all his strength to see, hear and sense. Of course, if you turn on the dragon transformation, you can end the battle quickly, but it is not necessary. It is just a good opportunity to practice your knowledge. Suddenly, he kicked his left leg to the side and back, but he was still a step too slow. When his left leg kicked out, he immediately punched to the other side with his fist. He changed his moves so quickly that even the thing couldn't react. With a muffled groan, something was hit by him on the wall. Dust and wall peeling fell on the wall, and when he chased after it, the thing was gone. Shave. The body moved very quickly, and when the whip was drawn out, there was another crisp cracking sound. He stretched out his hand and grabbed it in the air, and vaguely saw a transparent chip in the darkness. Did this thing appear so early? Ao Shin's ears suddenly moved, and his left arm was grabbed to the side with lightning speed. Caught you. Another small flame spurted out, and in the light of the fire, in his hand was the skinny girl who was huddled in the corner just now. But her image now is very different from before. There are pieces of transparent crystal scattered on his cheeks and arms. She was grabbed by Ao Shin's throat and lifted off the ground. At this moment, she was holding Ao Shin's hands with both hands, trying to pry open these big hands like iron pliers. But the big hand didn't move at all. Tisk tisk, how can a gentle and delicate girl like you eat zombie meat? Ao Shin, who has past life experience, is very familiar with this state of girls. This is Jingren. If you eat zombie meat without being infected, your brain will become crystallized. Brain crystals are treasures called awakening crystals by those with abilities. And their bodies will gradually turn into crystals. These crystals have strong defense and can also bring them powerful strength. Let me go. Let me go. The crystals on the girl's face fell off, and she returned to her original harmless appearance. Or a heterogeneous crystal being. Crystal man's body mutates, his brain crystals devour his original brain, and he becomes a completely different creature. But there is also a kind of crystal being that undergoes mutations. Its brain crystals are fused with the brain, and the original owner's personality has not been completely erased. Their bodies also retain the appearance of humans, but they can crystallize independently to attack or defend. The most important thing is that as long as these alien crystal beings do not reveal their crystals, they are no different from ordinary humans. Hidden among humans, it will not be noticed. Looking at your strength, you must have eaten a lot of zombies. Ao Shin pinched Jingren's neck and lifted it up, making Jingren's face turn red. Judging from the speed she just showed, she looked like a corpse. Moreover, this type of alien crystal being retains human characteristics, and its combat effectiveness is much lower than other similar types. In other words, if the zombies she ate were normal crystal beings, they would probably have the strength of zombies. Let me go. Her voice was distorted, and she could barely hold back 3 words from her mouth, but what greeted her was Ao Shin's disdainful smile. I have never hurt a human being. I only ate zombies. Please, let me go. Her breathing became more and more difficult, and her brain was a little confused, but her survival instinct allowed her to continue to finish her words of begging for mercy. Let you go. While Ao Shin smiled, he increased his strength on his hands again. Your brain crystallization should have reached a 2-star level. Let me see. The other hand reached for her head, and its 5 fingers formed into claws to break open her head and take out the crystal. Jingren's body couldn't stop trembling. Spare me, please. A line of tears dropped from her eyes. She didn't want to die. Even if she had to eat disgusting zombie meat while living, she still didn't want to die. But now, this terrifyingly powerful person showed no mercy and just wanted to take out her brain crystals. Feeling the hands like steel claws on her forehead, she closed her eyes in despair. Or, are you going to die? However, just as Ao Shin was about to use his finger gun to smash the crystal man's head and take out the crystal, he suddenly stopped. His fingers touched something. He picked it off and put it in front of his eyes. This is a very ordinary hairband, with a small star on the side of the black hairband as decoration. This headband. Ao Shin looked at Jingren, who had sunken cheeks and was skinny in front of her, and fell into a certain memory. May I have your name? The hand holding Jingren relaxed a little, allowing her to breathe. Seeing that Ao Shin did not kill her, but instead released his claws. Although she did not know its intention, she hurriedly answered the question. My name is Han Shuang. Boom. This name hits Ao Shin's brain directly. He slowly placed her on the ground and released his grip on her throat. Do you have a younger brother named Han Lei? How do you know? She was put down and still didn't dare to move. The young man in front of him was too powerful. But why would the other party know about his younger brother? Could it be someone my brother knows? Oh, it's you. Ao Shin looked at Han Shuang in the dark with a complex expression. In his previous life, he had met her. At that time, Han Shuang disguised himself as a human and lurked among a group of survivors. She was very unpopular because of her sunken cheeks and ugly, sickly face. Only I am willing to talk to her. Later, her identity was exposed and she had to run away. At that time, I was still frightened when I learned her identity, but she just smiled and ran away. Later, many years later, she was chased by the kid who had obtained the devil fruit ability, but she once rescued him. Unfortunately, her action exposed herself, and the boy later spread the news, and countless people wanted to take her brain crystal. As for her final outcome, she didn't know, because after she was restrained by those pursuers, she died in the hands of that kid. At least, in her previous life, she showed no ill will toward humans. She has never been heard of devouring human flesh. Maybe she is really different from other crystal beings. I owe you a favor. Ao Shin said such an ambiguous word, but Han Shuang didn't hear it clearly. Nothing. Ao Shin shook his head and said, come with me. As long as you don't eat people, I will keep you safe. Han Shuang was still extremely afraid of him. But I am no longer a human being. I have become like this ghost. When I go out, others will definitely kill me if they see me. I'm here, no one can kill you. Ao Shin's words were loud and clear. Although her voice was dull, they gave her a strong sense of security. Well, her voice became lower and lower, and finally she started sobbing. Ao Shin doesn't know how to comfort people, not to mention that the person in front of him is no longer a human being. He searched the basement for a moment and finally found a large bottle of soda. The purpose of his coming to the basement was to find drinkable fresh water or juice. Although alcohol has no effect on his body, drinking every day does not quench his thirst. I unscrewed the cap of the bottle and drank it. The cool breath went straight into my stomach and intestines, and I felt refreshed. After drinking a bottle in one breath, he discarded the bottle in his hand with satisfaction. I found another bottle of mineral water, opened the cap and took a sip. Before it went bad, I tightened the cap and turned around to leave. I regret not taking Ao Chen with me. If Ao Chen's treasure storage space was there, I could store more fresh water. But thinking about the battles she has experienced in the past few days, if she really brings her sister out, she will not be able to withstand the furry corpses and the endless army of zombies. Let's go. Returning to Han Shuang, he greeted him. Han Shuang hummed slightly, and then followed him out of the basement step by step. Returning to the top of the bar, although it was still dark, the visibility was much better than in the basement. He found a sofa, threw the mineral water on the sofa, and leaned the steel whip on the sofa, and sat down to rest. Han Shuang rubbed the corners of her clothes and carefully sat opposite Ao Shin, sitting upright for fear of making him dissatisfied. Don't be so formal. If you're hungry, there are zombies I killed outside. You can eat whatever you want. There are only two kinds of food for Jingren, humans and zombies. If she doesn't eat humans, she can only eat zombies, and other foods are of no use to her. Seeing that she was still reserved, Ao Shin started chatting with her and asked her some things she didn't want to talk about in her previous life. For example, the reason why she became Akira. Under normal circumstances, even if a person is starved to death, he will not try to eat zombie meat. But why did she come to this point? In her previous life, she kept secret about her experience and was unwilling to talk about it in depth, but now, under the strong pressure of Ao Shin, she would say whatever she really asked. I used to be a waiter at this bar. Han Shuang talked about his own experience. When the apocalypse comes, some drug addicts in the bar have low immunity and cannot withstand the zombie virus and transform into corpses. The whole bar was in chaos. She and several other bar workers fled into the basement in panic. Spent a few days on food in the basement. However, as the concentration of zombie viruses in the air became higher and higher, coupled with the physical weakness caused by staying in the basement all the time, some people soon began to transform into corpses. Fortunately, they found out in time and killed the man when he had just transformed into a corpse. But in the apocalypse, there are many people who have lost their bottom line. What could happen to a woman locked in a basement with several men in this environment of collapse of civilization? But those are nothing to her. As long as you can live. However, there are always people who are more perverted than imagined. There were zombies everywhere outside the bar. They didn't dare to go out, and the food was consumed very quickly. Finally, someone suggested that she eat the flesh of the guy who had turned into a corpse and was killed. When she didn't want to, the men held her down and forced the meat into her mouth. It was no use letting her cry and struggle. I don't know if there is a perfect path, but she did not transform into a corpse. Instead, she mutated when her brain was crystallized and became a heterogeneous crystal being. And kill all those men. After listening to Han Shuang's self-report, Ao Shin couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the most terrifying thing in the last days is the human heart. After Han Shuang became a heterogeneous crystal being, she also had the idea of wanting to die, but in the end she still wanted to live. Do you know my brother? How is she now? After a brief exchange between Han Shuang and Ao Shin, she also realized that Ao Shin did not seem to want to kill her, and gradually let down her guard. This was the first time she saw a living person after killing those men. Not only is it extremely powerful, but it doesn't seem to discriminate against itself. This made her a little more dependent on Ao Shin deep down, and she couldn't help but think of Ao Shin mentioning her younger brother before. Maybe you can get news about your family from him. They're all dead, Ao Shin replied. Naturally, he didn't know Han Lei or their family. These are what I heard from Han Shuang in his previous life. After hiding in the basement for a while, she went to look for her family, but found nothing. Later, she accidentally found a surveillance video from a nearby store, in which she saw the whole family being infected by zombies at the beginning of the apocalypse. You died, Han Shuang murmured, feeling sad in his heart, with tears streaming down his sunken eyes. As expected, death is the norm in the apocalypse. He lay on the sofa and slept all night. When he woke up the next day, he saw Han Shuang holding a zombie's thigh and chewing on it. That was the zombie he killed yesterday morning. I turned my neck a few times. It was very uncomfortable to sleep on the sofa and my neck was a little stiff. Seeing that he was awake, Han Shuang quickly turned her back. Although she could only feed on zombies, she didn't want others to see her ugly appearance when eating zombies. Ao Shin smiled, exchanged a large piece of Neptune barbecue from the God-given space, swallowed it in a big gulp, and poured into his mouth the mineral water he found in the basement last night. Then he returned with his life and digested all the energy in this piece of meat. After the meal, Han Shuang tore up a piece of tablecloth and wiped her mouth, and Ao Shin felt full of strength. He picked up the steel whip and walked toward the door. Let's go. Han Shuang followed closely behind him, and as soon as he opened the door, a large group of zombies rushed towards them. Ao Shin carried the steel whip on his back and used his finger gun and Lan Jiao, which was unable to send out slashing attacks, to fight against the enemy. Han Shuang hesitated for a moment, then crystals appeared on his body, and he started fighting the zombies. Crystal people evolve in the same way as zombies, that is, by devouring other zombies and using zombie viruses to strengthen the crystals in their bodies. Even though they still retain the appearance of humans, the genes inside them are already that of another species. From the moment they become crystal beings, they cannot use the God-given space. To humans, both zombies and crystal beings are monsters. They are all monsters that can be killed. Crystals formed on Han Shuang's fist, and he punched a corpse. The tyrannical force pushed the flesh corpse back a few steps, but it immediately rushed forward with a roar. Tear. Her back was scratched by a zombie, blood stains appeared, and the zombie virus entered her body. But she was no longer infected. With her eyes flashing red, she smashed the head of a zombie with one punch, grabbed one of its arms and chewed it up. The blood marks on his back slowly healed, and zombies rushed towards him from the side. She raised her arm, and crystals appeared on her arms. The crystals were hard and blocked the zombies' attacks. Throwing away the chewed up and incomplete arm in her hand, her fists were once again covered with crystals, and she rushed towards the surrounding zombies. But after all, she was just an ordinary bartender and had never been trained in fighting. Even if he becomes a crystal being, he will only be physically stronger, but his fighting skills will be extremely rough. Relying on brute strength and indestructible crystals, as well as the crystal body constitution that will not be infected even if it is bitten. She can be so strong among the zombies. The two of them walked to the west and fought at the same time. When they were tired, they found a building to hide in and rest. After they were rested, they continued to go out and fight. Your fighting skills are too shallow. On the way, Ao Shin gave Han Shuang guidance while dealing with a steady stream of zombies. Sorry, I can't fight. Han Shuang was ashamed. Seeing Ao Shin's art-like fighting style, his own movements were as ugly as shit. But Jingren's brain crystal has a strong learning ability like a computer. While dealing with the zombies around her, she learned combat skills from Ao Shin's movements. Moreover, the learning results are extremely significant. After clearing out another group of zombies, Ao Shin exchanged several bottles of the cheapest spirits from the God-given space to rinse his body. Do you need it? He asked Han Shuang while pouring the strong drink over his head. Ah. Han Shuang looked down at his body that was covered in blood and full of fishy smell, then looked at Ao Shin's strong and powerful muscles, and immediately lowered his head in inferiority. For you. Ao Shin has understood that even though she is reduced to eating zombie meat to survive, she is still a woman after all. What woman doesn't like to be clean? A few bottles of spirits were also exchanged for her, and the girl poured them down again. Although it is impossible to clean it completely, the dirt can be reduced, the smell can be lighter, and it can be more comfortable. Thanks. She speaks very little, and basically stays silent as long as Ao Shin doesn't speak. After rinsing, the clothes were soaked with alcohol. But there is no way. Fortunately, under the scorching sun, the alcohol will evaporate quickly and the clothes will be dried quickly. Why are there so few zombies on this street? After entering a street, the zombies in 2s and 3s around were very unusual. This used to be a busy city, where zombies should gather, but why are there so few? Easily killing an approaching zombie, the two of them strode forward. But the further you go, the more zombies you get. Is someone luring zombies? While killing crazily among the zombies, he saw a huge iron fence in front of him. The fence is very thick, and there are many other huge obstacles behind it, which even flesh corpses cannot destroy. At the top of the fence is a high platform. On the high platform, a girl is sitting there, making faces at the zombies in front of her from time to time. And below, behind the obstacle, is a large group of people, holding spears exchanged from the God-given space in their hands, thrusting out from the gaps in the obstacle, slowly killing the zombies. In the middle of the intersection, there was a big man wearing gray-green scales, with long cheeks and a thick tail behind his butt. In his hand he brandished a long serrated knife. This sword is exactly the same as the evil dragon's. Ao Shin remembered that this was a weapon of the Liang Kue Dao level, named Zanfang, and the price was 10,000 points. Besides myself, who else can get 10,000 points? This person is definitely not an unknown person. The Zanfang is heavy and sharp. Every time it cuts, it can easily kill a zombie. Even if it is a flesh corpse, it is just a matter of killing it a few more times. This man's strength is also extremely strong. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.